Worm is a web serial by J.C. McCrae, also known as Wildbow. You can read Worm in its original format by visiting parahumans.wordpress.com or donate to Wildbow's Patreon at patreon.com/wildbow. This story isn't intended for young or sensitive readers. Readers who are on the lookout for trigger warnings are advised to give Worm a pass. For a complete list, check the description for all of Worm's trigger warnings.
Good morning, Brockton Bay. It's wet outside. Grab your nylon rubber socks. Don't want to get trench foot.
Did not expect that.
I totally forgot we were doing this.
That was the longest fucking pause.
I was busy going over notes. You know, I have a book full of notes here. I have to keep track of this shit. All right. You know, this isn't willy-nilly. I can't just sit in the background, twiddle my thumbs, and just hope some superhero does everything for me like some people.
That's fair. Good. All right, fair enough.
Well,
they won't know how long the pause was, so it's
no,
fine.
exactly.
We'll edit it out, you know, or we'll leave it in.
Post-production's for.
Sometimes your shame just needs to stay in the podcast.
Sometimes it does. Sometimes it does. You never know.
Speaking
All
of
right,
shame,
Jacob.
welcome back, everybody. To another episode
Such a great start.
of the Brockton Bay Book Club. Going
Thank you.
through Arc 12, Plague of Worm. Got the whole crew here. We're going to dive right into this meaty arc, I should say. Many chapters. And let's, we're already off the rails, so there we go.
Meaty arc.
So meteor. No.
Meaty arc.
They're derailed
Meaty
already.
arc.
I don't get it.
It's just super random TikToks in my head constantly.
I wouldn't say that this arc was great or exceptional. It was really just mediocre.
Oh.
All right, and that's the podcast.
Thanks for coming, everybody.
Michael, put in a little drum.
It's too good. It's too good. Oh my gosh, I love it.
We need that.
Deep breath.
Wow, what a
Start
start.
again.
What
Here
a
we go,
start.
Jacob.
Yeah, no, redo it. Take two.
You're from the top. We'll do it live. Don't you dare, Nick.
Okay.
Don't
Nope,
you
that's
dare
okay.
do another one.
For the first time now, repeating everything we just said. No, let's dive into this arc. It's a fun one. Hannah, do you want to hit us off with
Yes.
a couple summaries?
Yeah, so I don't know how we want to divide up this arc. I'm feeling like I don't know. I kind of feel like chapter 1 is on its own, and some of the others are more grouped together. But I'll just read for our little summary here for chapter 1. Skitter helps out those in her territory with some extra extermination efforts, and talks to Brian a little bit about her efforts and kind of what she's doing compared to what everybody else is doing.
Yeah.
I say we just, we stop there, and then the next bit I'll get into I'll cluster
Yeah,
up
that's
the next
good.
bit.
That works.
Ooh.
All right. How do you feel? How do we like this part?
I love all of the mundane planning and all the talking with her minions. This is fantastic. I really enjoyed all of that.
Yeah, it's nice to have that those quiet moments in the arc before, stuff goes down later in the arc. So having
Mhm.
those moments of seeing Taylor in a new way. Now she's not just a follower, but she's a leader, and her having to grow into this role of a team leader, and try to figure out how to do things. Yeah, and then just her conversations with Brian in that chapter are also really good and interesting too. Just seeing it from different perspectives, how the others are, taking it more slowly, and Taylor is just pushing herself to the brink.
Mm,
Says a lot about her character, and I think that's consistent with everything we've seen.
yeah.
Yeah, I love the way she's different from everybody else. And it sounds like even different, not just from the other Undersiders, but from the Travelers as well. Like
Yeah.
she's just gone fully into this mindset of taking control of her territory and sort of earning the reputation or earning the respect of her, like,
Yeah,
you don't want to call them, I don't know what she would call them, not her subjects, but like, her
her minions,
yeah,
Underlings.
peons
underlings.
is one of my favorites.
Oh yeah, that's a good one.
That's
I like
good.
that.
Yeah.
I like
Plebs.
plebs.
Yeah, she's moving pretty
But
quick.
Or
I think-
bugs.
Yeah,
Oh, her bugs.
her bugs.
Her drones.
Oh,
I
there
like
it
her
is.
drones.
There we go.
That's
drones.
good.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah, yeah. Does that make her the queen bee? Is she the mean girl?
Yes. Yes. That is the whole story. The whole story is trying to fight against the mean girls only to, become the mean girl.
The meanest
No.
of girls.
No.
Yeah.
Yes. Spoilers for the last chapter.
You either die a nice girl, or you live long enough to see yourself become the mean girl.
Mm.
Exactly. My favorite
Yeah.
quote from Mean
That's good.
Girls right there.
Do you know that reference, Hannah?
Okay, give me a second. Give me a second to filter through all the nerd stuff in my brain.
We should also have this be a segment where we randomly quiz.
Where Hannah tries to delve into the nerdiness that is the rest of this
Because
group.
we
It's
reference
not
so
really
many
nerdy,
different
though.
properties.
Honestly,
So it's
No, this is pretty
It's
pop.
is it
nerdy.
Star Wars? It's the you don't see yourself long enough to become. Wait. Actually, no. I
definitely
take it
know
back.
it.
I take it back. It's not Star Wars. Is it Spider-Man?
Ooh,
Closer.
you're getting
Good
closer.
guess. Yeah, good
I'm
guess.
guessing like
It is
DC or
A-Man.
Marvel
It is
comics.
A-Man.
Yep, it is DC. Good job.
DC
That
comics.
counts.
Okay, wait,
That
hold on.
counts.
Give me a second. Is it Batman?
Yeah.
it is
Yeah,
bad.
right.
Hey. That
Very
took me
nice.
too
Specifically,
long. I'm
that
kind of
was
embarrassed
good.
for
Knight.
That
myself,
was good.
actually.
Yeah.
Is it the Dark Knight?
It is.
Yeah.
God
It is the Dark
damn
Knight,
it!
yeah.
The
I
end.
love
It's the-
shit.
yeah.
Okay, that just goes to show you it's been a long time since
Yeah, we
I've
should
seen the
watch
Dark
it
Knight.
soon.
I
All right.
actually love
Anyways.
the Dark Knight.
All right. Well, that's the podcast. We're gonna go watch The Dark Knight now.
No.
How many
I
times
really
are we going to end this podcast in this podcast?
I really like this chapter as an opener. I feel like this whole arc is a great example of another arc that's sandwiched with like the mundane on either end with all of the meat in the middle. But like Alan said, I really enjoy seeing her settle into this role so much. It feels so good to watch her settle in and really take hold of her territory. And I actually kept notes while reading this arc, which I've never done before. And these notes are a little unhinged, so I'll read them off as we get to them. But I do have a comment here what I was thinking about, and I wanted to get y'all's opinion. Taylor very clearly cares a lot about her opinion, as she should, because she's got this territory she's trying to establish herself. But she cares and maybe overthinks a lot of how Sierra and Charlotte perceive her, especially Charlotte, since she knew who she was from before. And my note here is this overkill? Is Taylor being too careful? Because I feel like she's very aware of people's perceptions of her, and she's aware of the power dynamic between capes in Brockton Bay. But I feel like she's being way too protective of her own, like how people perceive her. It came off a little annoying to me, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, I can see that.
I mean, I think for Sierra and Charlotte, definitely. It's amazing that she's paranoid about them and how she's perceived, and oftentimes when it comes to just big group settings, like back when she let the one guy like stab her, but then when it comes to dealing with the one dad, I think that's later on in this arc.
Well, she deals with him in this chapter and in later.
Yeah, Brian's like you has to point out to her, hey, do you see how he sees you? She's like, no.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Just a weird blind spot given the kind of paranoia about being perceived otherwise.
Yeah.
Well, and I think it's interesting, this inner dialogue we get from Taylor of her trying to figure out how she wants to be perceived, because it's still
Mhm.
sort of that she is at her core. I think at this point we can say she's at least trying to be a good person. I don't know that we would say she is a good person, but she's trying to be, right? She's trying to help the city. She's trying to get goods and things out to people. But she also feels the need to have the villain persona of fear and power and control. At the very least, she wants to have the authority
Mhm.
side of that comes with saying, hey, I'm in control. I've got a handle on things. You can trust me. You might not like the way I do it because I'm a villain, but you can trust that I will take care of it.
Mhm.
But in reality, she's also a teenager and she's vulnerable and she's, been abused and hurt. And so it's this weird mixture of her trying to be perceived as a hero in a way, in her own way, but also as a villain. And I think part of that's why it comes across as annoying, because she's trying to find her stride with those, with her minions or peons to say, this is how you should think of me. Um, yeah, it's sort of like the parent who comes out really strict and then realizes they were too strict and tries to come up and be a friend,
Yeah.
but they
Mm.
never quite
Mm.
find that balance between being buddy buddy and being way too strict.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, and that's some great insight to the whole arc, I feel like, because it's really not until, not to jump ahead, of course, but not really until the mannequin fight that she really cements herself as a leader for her
Right.
territory.
Hmm.
Because I mean, you got to think like, how does it have to feel? Let's put our feet in the shoes of one of these poor families that lost everything to Leviathan, and now like they're trying to scrape their lives back together. And here comes this obviously teenaged girl who now says, I'm in charge and you can't do anything because she's got superpowers. Like,
Right.
are you gonna, no one's gonna
Very creepy
care.
superpowers too.
Yeah. No one's gonna care, or any sort of loyalty that you show is only out of like safety for yourself and hoping that she
Yeah.
doesn't hurt you. It's gotta be just
Yeah.
a crazy situation.
True.
Until, of course, she saves your life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Man, I have so many notes for this first chapter. One of them is just the conversation I think she has with I think it's Sierra, where she's like, I don't believe in shouldn't. Like,
the whole moral conversation
yeah.
at the very
Like,
beginning.
bitch,
Yeah.
yes, why shouldn't I rob a bank?
Yeah.
I don't
But-
believe words like
Yeah.
shouldn't and get your ass to jail and stop doing that. It's hurting people.
I mean, it makes sense because Brockton Bay, like from the conversation we had with Lisa so long ago, of this whole, the Capes are all very aware of the cat and mouse games that we have to play and that everybody
Mhm.
plays. And the idea of what is right or what is moral is so blurred because it's all just a game of dress up, really. And like, of course, we have
Yeah.
the three strikes rule, but like for the most part, these people are a bunch of, kids with magnifying glasses over a city of ants. It's like, well,
Mhm.
okay, so clearly the Capes, as it were, are dividing the city up. There's no real action being taken against them because, what harm are they actually doing? It's like, well, what kind of power do you have at all other than to just go along with it and just like live the life? Well, I guess this is Brockton Bay now. And so the morality question is like, well, I mean, what is right and what is wrong?
Yeah. And we have to remember too that at this point, because of the Leviathan attack, Brockton Bay is basically a post-apocalyptic wasteland that is
Yeah.
trying to become a functional city again.
Right.
So there aren't
Mhm.
even, I mean, which when you think about post-apocalyptic stories, generally morality is defined sort of as might makes right. And in this case, it seems to be that way, where the villains, Taylor's saying, I don't really care how I have to do it. I just want to make sure that the people who are under my control are safe.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And she wants to be the most powerful person in her area, or at least, appear that way. And then, of course, there's a fight that happens, which is a cool take on that too. But I think it's helpful to think of Brockton Bay sort of as a post-apocalyptic
Yeah.
land,
Yeah,
because at
it
this
really
point,
is.
I mean, there's
It feels
there's
like
so much wrong.
I'm sorry, I didn't
Yeah.
mean to cut you off,
No,
Nick.
you're good. That's all. That's all. There's just so much wrong.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's interesting because the sense of normalcy that they're hoping to achieve, and even something that Brian points out is like, if you're not playing into the games that Coyle wants to play, if you don't have the value that Coyle wants, then like what's the point of keeping you? Because it's gonna take so long for the city to be able to be back to what it used to be, to its former glory or to its former functionality. We're looking at years. We're not looking at months. And so,
Yeah.
like, it really, you're absolutely right. It is very post-apocalyptic. Like, I wouldn't have stayed. I'd be gone. Like, bye.
Yeah.
I'm
If you
going.
could, I mean,
Yeah.
that's if you can go.
Right.
Yeah.
You were talking about, it's post-apocalyptic. I'm like looking at how bad the city is right now. I love before the city was already kind of bad enough that working as a henchman was like, oh, that one dock worker guy that worked with Danny before and had to let him go. Like, he's got a job working as a henchman now. It's like, oh, really? Good for him. And now Taylor's doing that. Or like, oh,
Yeah.
I got to hire some people. Man, how rough is life? Well, I've had to start working for a villain. So,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
but
So
you
things
got
are
to do
going
what you got to
smoothly.
do. So,
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm definitely appreciating the honestly, Nick, you said it well. The apocalyptic sort of setting here, more on a second reread, or first reread to be repetitive. But it really does. Like, she talks at one point of lakes being in the city now that didn't
Yeah.
exist prior to this. Like, it's an
Okay.
entirely different topography.
Yeah.
It's not even the same shape of the city. It's
Right.
everything is just completely upturned and moved around. It's crazy.
Yeah. And so to your point too, Hannah, kind of like you said, I can imagine the heroes being like, okay, who's actually hurting people? Oh, those guys are helping people?
Yeah.
Yeah, let's just let them do that for a while. And if they
Mhm.
go too far,
Mhm.
then we'll take care of it. But, if people have clothes and food that are being given by somebody, that's one less
Right.
person that we have to spend resources on.
Yeah, because I imagine the heroes' resources are spread so thin to try and
Yeah.
take care of as
Mhm.
many people as they possibly can.
Well, and because all the heroes, we didn't really talk about this, but all the heroes who came to fight Leviathan, I don't think any of them are around anymore. They just,
Yeah.
they just like even the big name heroes, like I'm sure they're busy, Eidolon and Mirrodin and all of them, but they just kind of said like, okay, Leviathan's gone. See ya.
See ya.
Good luck,
Yeah.
Brockton Bay.
Yeah. The
Yeah.
most powerful heroes who could actually do something, maybe. Yeah.
Right.
yeah. I mean, you think about, I think Weld was at the fight and then he went away.
Yeah.
And then,
And
you
he's
know,
back now, but still.
yeah, like he
Mhm.
still had to be flown back because he left after that fight was done,
Right.
just
Right.
like everyone
Right.
else.
That's a good point. I didn't think about that. But yeah, a lot of capes in that fight were not Brockton Bay locals, and did not stick around to help pick up the pieces, which leaves it to the villains.
Yeah.
I
And they are
mean,
picking up those pieces.
they certainly are. Way to go.
Yeah. Also, could we talk about Taylor is in the stage of like she's doing costume upgrades. She's working on like these emergency bracelets.
Mhm.
Oh
Like,
yeah, I do love those.
yeah. It makes me wonder, like, I know obviously this is not in there, but like, are we sure she's not a tinker? Because I
Oh,
feel like she comes with a
y-
bunch of inventive little devices and things with bugs. And
yeah.
it just makes me wonder. It's
You're
like,
talking about
maybe
the little origami paper necklaces with the fly inside, right?
yeah, the little bracelets and they
Yeah.
crush
Yeah.
it and then like,
Yeah.
It's
Yep.
so smart. It's
I
so
love
smart.
it.
Once again, just reminded that Taylor is such a smart person, and I, in her position, would never have even thought about doing something like that. And the fact that she's like thinking about those precautions, like thinking about
Yeah.
Sierra and Charlotte, like she's such a good boss. Like, go
Yeah.
Taylor.
When she even mentions that she thinks that her ability to multitask and think like that probably is a
Yeah.
sub result of her powers too, which I think is a cool
Uh-huh.
little bit of
Mhm.
world building that we've talked about the negative end in a way, how like with Rachel, she has connected more to her dogs than to people, and it's possible
Mm.
that her powers have affected her mind in that way. Taylor maybe has a little bit of bug mind, and bugs, although not nearly as intelligent as humans, they move very quickly, have to think very quickly, and be light on their toes and do a lot of things all at once and pay attention to a lot of things all at once.
Mhm.
And so it kind of makes sense. Taylor's got bug brain; she can think about a lot of things all at the same time.
Yep. Yep. And we see that later and quite a few times in this arc where she's having to do like 8 things at once. Well, more than 8 things because it's more like 8 separate swarms doing 8 separate things, but like hundreds of thousands of bugs in each swarm doing, those different things.
Mhm.
It's like good gravy.
And we can't neglect. We probably need to move on from this chapter, but we can't neglect that Hot Brian is hot. Does show
Hot
up and is
Brian
like,
is so
"Hey,
hot.
you wanna hang out sometime, Taylor?"
I used to like it when you were more hardcore about villain
Ugh.
stuff.
Yeah.
Gosh.
Translation, at one point, I think this is a paraphrase, but like, why don't we get along? Because you pushed my boundaries.
Oh
And even
my
then, you
God.
went too far.
Okay. Brian. Woo. Yeah, Hot Brian is hot. Yeah. How could we ever forget?
Always
Never.
worth a mention. All
Okay.
right. Moving
Um,
on.
Yeah, so I'm gonna group. I think what I'm gonna do is group chapter 2, chapter 3, and chapter 4 together, maybe.
Mm.
Yeah, I
Um,
think that works.
Yeah. So in chapter 2, we have this heroes and villains meet up to discuss the Slaughterhouse 9, discuss what we're doing for it. And the Undersiders and the Travelers kind of get sidelined and get pushed out of the meeting, and they're told to leave, so they don't even get to stay for the rest of the meeting. And then chapter 3, the Undersiders and the Travelers head back to the Travelers' hideout and unmask, which is a very exciting moment. They video call with Noelle, which we finally get a description of, and discuss options for dealing with the Slaughterhouse 9 with the kind of chess versus shogi conversation. And then as they're leaving in chapter 4, Jack, Bonesaw, and Siberian meet up, or kind of, I guess, show up, not meet up, show up with the Undersiders and the Travelers in that parking garage. Tattletale reveals Cherish's plan, and Jack attacks Tattletale.
So much.
There's a lot packed into those episodes.
Yeah,
It is.
a
Chapters
whole
there.
heckin' lot happens.
Mhm.
Yeah, well, let's start with the meetup then.
Talking, yeah, I was gonna say, speaking of
Mhm.
man-made or Endbringer made lakes,
Lakes, yeah.
Oof.
what a great place to meet.
Yeah. Man, Weld is such a smart boy.
Oh gosh,
Like,
I
too
love
smart for
Weld.
his own good.
Yeah,
Yeah. No,
Oof.
he gets a gold star.
he really does.
Just
He figures it
immediately,
out.
he's like, Dinah Alcott. And everybody's
Yeah.
like, the
Yep.
fuck? It's like,
So good.
that's who it is. And then proceeds to explain to everybody that, like, I have deduced, my
Yeah.
dear Miss Militia, that, and then spells it out. And
So good.
at the end of it, he's still not the one to get kicked out. Coyle does not get kicked out despite having kidnapped a child.
Yeah, for real. For
Well,
real.
because Coyle does the
Yep.
whole, I can neither confirm nor deny that is my source.
yeah, for
I
real.
know. And,
Yeah,
and
exactly.
somehow it's got it
Okay.
feels frustrating. I get it, we're from Taylor's perspective, but it feels frustrating to me because I'm like, that's a bullshit excuse and everybody should know it. Like, how is this working? This isn't something that his powers should allow him to do because he picked the sucky option. He chose the wrong answer and somehow still everybody was like, nope, that seems good enough to me.
Oh, that's good.
Same with Hookwolf. Hookwolf was like, all right,
my
guys,
God.
I'm an evil Nazi. And also, oh, look over there. Those are the bad guys. And everybody's like, yes, kick the teenagers out.
Yeah.
You're like, for
Yeah.
what?
Yeah.
For what?
They're kicking them out because they're better than them.
Right.
That's why.
That really is like the heroes were like, oh, thank goodness those guys who were showing us up are
Yeah.
gone.
Yeah.
They were making us look bad.
I mean, basically, yeah.
Oh my gosh.
You made me think of, and we're going to cut this if nobody else has seen Glass Onion yet.
Oh,
Make
heck
a Glass
yeah.
Onion
Yeah,
reference. Okay,
Mhm.
good. We can keep it then. But the scene in Glass Onion where Daniel Craig's character, I forget his name, the detective, Blanc, I think,
Yeah.
at the beginning, because he's like, I've
Benoit
gathered
Blanc.
you all here to solve my intricate riddle. It's going to take you all weekend. He's like, wait, I've got it. And he just goes and solves the whole thing.
Yeah.
That's
So
that's
good.
well.
Oh, good.
Basically.
He flips out his little notebook too, which I love because I can't
Yeah,
help
yeah,
but
yeah.
imagine.
Little
I can't
Blue's
help but imagine.
Clues
Yes,
ass notebook.
Oh my gosh, it's Steve from Blue's Clues. And that's what I was thinking. He flips out his little, spiral bound notebook, and he's like, and pulls out his like blue crayon, and he's like, "All right, guys, it's Dinah Alcott." Like, the imagery is
Oh
too
my
good.
See,
God.
you joke, but because of his power, it probably was a crayon.
Oh,
Oh,
I love that
oh
so
my
much.
Oh,
That
that's
makes it a
true.
million times better.
Oh.
Okay, it's canon now.
I
It's
love it.
canon
It's
now.
so
Weld
good.
keeps
Weld uses a
crayons on
and
it.
it's a
crayon.
blue clue. It's you can get one of those Blue's Clues themed ones. I
Oh,
have
yeah.
one, of
with
course.
the armchair on the
giant
front.
Fat crayon.
Yes.
It's the biggest
Oh my
crayon in
gosh,
the
I
world.
love it so much.
Fantastic.
Unbelievable.
Oh, that's great. That's
I
a
was
meme.
also
Please.
happy in this chapter. We have Cricket. I thought Cricket had mortally perished. And I was
definitely got
wrong.
glass in the eyes.
Well, yeah, 100%.
Mhm.
But my note just says Cricket with like 18 exclamation points after it. I really like Cricket. And when I thought she was dead, I was so upset. And it's just like, I know she's with the bad guys, but Cricket's so cool. I'm so glad she's alive.
I wonder if Cricket has Imp's power because I don't remember Cricket from the first 2 times I read this. Not a single mention. If you
Oh
said
my
Cricket,
gosh.
I would have gone hoomst. Like,
Well, I don't
and yet
remember
Cricket
her
has
from
showed
the
up
first
like
read.
3 times. And I'm like, where was this character? Because, like
Yeah.
on the vague fringes, there was Airwolf or whatever his name is. Wind Tiger, Storm Tiger.
Storm Tiger, yeah.
Wind Tiger. Airwolf.
Yeah.
Wind Tiger. Got it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There was Storm Tiger, but that was as obscure into them as, into the Empire 88 as it went. And then we're talking about Cricket. And I'm like, first off, is Cricket supposed to be some Nazi reference that I'm missing? Like,
oh gosh.
No, she's just she's fallen in with a bad crowd. Now, I don't remember Cricket from my first read through either, but I've just, for some reason, this read through, I have like latched onto her, and I need her to survive for as long as possible.
I definitely remember Airwolf.
Airwolf.
I don't remember,
Airwolf.
yeah.
Airwolf. I mean, to be
No,
fair,
Michael, you did that.
it kind of works too because they're they're kind of a Nazi thing. So he could be he could be Hairwolf.
Hairwolf.
because Airwolf was a
Hairwolf?
TV show about a helicopter. I don't know how well that worked.
Oh god.
Michael, the poll for this episode, by the way, the poll is going to be how many times do we get sidetracked?
Oh god. It broke me for some reason.
Funny. It's too
Jeez
funny.
Louise.
It's been a bad week. This is me just living my best
gosh.
life right now with Hairwolf.
Okay. So stupid. It's so good though.
Unbelievable.
Gosh.
Okay, all right.
I'm glad I
Please.
could give that to you.
Yeah. We interrupt our scheduled program to bring you a word from our sponsor, Zencastr, a one-stop shop for all your podcasting needs. When we first started this podcast, we knew we needed a service that would let us record remotely. After doing some research, Zencastr was the obvious choice. We started using Zencastr and never looked back. It's super easy to record a podcast with Zencastr. All you do is log in, invite people to join your room, and start recording a high-quality podcast right away. You can record studio-quality sound and up to 4K video with your guests. You can rest easy even if you have an unstable connection, knowing Zencastr's multi-layered backups ensure you always have your recordings in the highest quality. We do all our recording in Zencastr, and when the episode is ready, we can distribute it to all major podcast platforms. Zencastr has made podcasting so much easier with its all-in-one podcasting platform and tools. Go to zencastr.com/pricing and use my code Brocktonbaybc, and you'll get 30% off your first month of any Zencastr paid plan. I want you to have the same easy experiences I do for all my podcasting and content needs. It's time to share your story. That's zencastr.com/pricing and use our code Brocktonbaybc. And now back to our scheduled programming.
Okay. Yeah.
Speaking
No.
of,
Big meeting. Please continue.
yeah, I was gonna say try to bring it back. I do love you mentioned Imp. I love that Imp gets left behind because I
Yes.
totally forgot that Imp was there until
Ah,
Tattletale's like, yeah, don't worry, we left him behind. I was like, oh,
Well, I
that's
think
great.
I don't know if Imp is even mentioned. I think that's a
Yeah.
writing technique. I don't think
Right.
Imp is mentioned by
oh,
Taylor.
I think you might be right.
And so when Taylor says, I forgot Imp was there, I think purposefully Imp is left out of the list of the Undersiders who go. Just as a writing comment.
Oh, that's
So-
probably.
Well, wait a
you're
minute.
probably
Isn't
right.
Worm written in first person? Right?
It is.
Yeah, so it makes sense for Taylor not to, like, for us not to
that's
get
what- yeah,
that.
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah, I love that. I love that so much. Also, I love every moment that Brian, like, realizes that he's forgotten Imp is, like, the funniest and also, like, the cutest older brother thing ever.
Yeah.
He's just like, dang it. Like, she did it again. It's so great. I just love that. I love it.
Yeah. Also, it's the biggest mocking of an older sibling. Like, what are you gonna
Yes.
do, granddad? It's like, I'm like 2 years older than you. It's like, yeah, well, you forget about me all the time because you're dementia. It's like, it's not my problem. It's your power.
Yeah.
Uh,
And she's like, yeah, we'll see how long you remember that. And then he's like,
Oh,
what was
God.
I arguing about? Who was I arguing with? I don't
Yeah.
remember.
Who even has a sister? Not me. Gosh. Yeah.
Who else gets left? Genesis goes back as well,
yes,
right?
Genesis
Mhm.
stays.
Yeah.
In some indeterminate form.
Right. Gosh, I still haven't figured out how Genesis works. And I'm sure I'll figure it out eventually, but I still have no clue.
Nobody really knows.
Nobody really.
Oh, I was gonna say, do you want me to give the explanation? 'Cause
No, absolutely not.
they've explained it already.
It doesn't matter, Alex.
They actually
Alex,
have
you're-
not explained it yet.
Yeah, so shut up.
Are you
I-
sure?
I'm pretty
just-
sure they haven't fully.
The thing is
I
that,
think
like,
they
even
basically just said Genesis's real body is elsewhere, and that's
if
about it.
yes,
Hmm.
yeah. So we know, like, basically. But my thing is that, like, even if I don't know it now, I'll figure it out eventually. Like,
Yeah,
just
yeah,
let
you'll
me
get
get there.
You got
I-
the new
very
readers
slow.
to think about.
That's
Yeah,
true.
yeah.
That's true. You can basically count me amongst the new readers because at this point, I don't
Yeah, we
remember what
appreciate that.
happens after
That's
this
good.
point.
And Michael's basically a new reader too. Let's be honest.
Heck yeah.
Yeah.
I was
I'm
gonna say,
just
wait, no,
here to-
Michael has read it before.
Yes.
Yeah, but he's forgotten everything.
I have. I also don't really talk about
Uh,
anything I've might remember because I'm not reading along with you. So I'm just here. But yes.
Moral
Thank you.
support.
Exactly. All right, to try to route, I was going to say any more thoughts on that scene.
I do have one quick comment about this. So when Taylor is, like, having her moment where she's like, "Why is Coyle being such a jackass?" Like, I love as a reader being able to anticipate, and this is just good writing, but being able to anticipate something before your character does, and then when your character finally gets to that point, being like, "Yes, I knew it!" Like, "Oh, come on!" Like, "I got it before you did." And there's in mystery novels too, is like being able to figure out the mystery before the end. But in the same way, like, having those moments, it validates the reader to know that we're on the right track, basically. But when Taylor is having her, like, "Wow, Coyle's such a jackass," like, oh my gosh. In my head, I was like, Taylor, it's because he's using his power. Like, he's playing out the two options, and siding against the Undersiders is making the whole
It's
thing
the better option.
It's the better option, and that's why you're living in it, because it is the better option. And then, of course, later, Tattletale, in the next chapter at the very beginning, Tattletale says that. And I'm like, thank you, Lisa. Because yeah, Taylor. But I love that. It's good writing to have your reader be able to like anticipate those kind of moments before they happen, so that when they do, the reader feels like they're being validated in their thoughts, which is just more excellent Wild Bow writing.
Yeah, great point.
Yeah.
I do think the conversation is interesting there in how, once again, much like the Endbringers, the villains and the heroes come together. But now, because they're not dealing with essentially a natural disaster, it's interesting just to see how they deal with it. More of how do we make this work? Dealing with these people, not knowing what they're going to do.
Yeah.
So, just some good conversations there. I thought were interesting.
Yeah. I also, because I know some of you are big Trickster fans, but this is one of those few moments that I actually enjoyed Trickster, where they ask him like, "Hey, are you willing to cooperate?" And he's just like, "No, I don't think I will."
Yeah.
Yes.
Trickster's great.
I do love Trickster's power. It's one of my favorites.
Cool.
It's so good. It's such a fun take on a really common power.
Yeah.
What is his power?
He can swap two objects of
Yes,
equal
yeah.
size.
They have to have
Size, yes.
similar mass, not
Yeah.
size.
Similar
but
mass. Yeah, that's right. Mass, right.
Yeah.
Which I think is more interesting
Right.
than just similar size.
So interesting.
Yeah, you're right.
Yes, I remember that because we talked about how he swapped Arms Master with like a column or something, right?
Yeah, like a
Yeah.
huge,
I
something
love
huge.
Yeah.
So cool.
I'm just waiting for the moment he swaps somebody out for a grand piano.
Yeah.
So I'm curious, just as an opinion, like put yourself in the Undersider's shoes. Is what Hookwolf was asking, was it unreasonable in your mind?
For them to all be in a hotel?
Because I feel like if they could have all agreed to be in the neutral territory, which I think was brought up, that might have been okay. But they just kind of said like, no, we're not giving up anything.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And I just thought that was interesting.
I think that his stuff was all unreasonable to the point I couldn't believe that anybody was considering him to be a reasonable, like it was all ridiculous. Like no way anybody would take that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
I agree.
Makes
It's
sense.
I would more argue that it's not necessarily that his request demands are unreasonable. It's more of out of principle. Like he's the one that everyone knows has been recruited, and he's clearly ganging up on them, and he's the freaking Nazi. Like at a certain point, it's like even if he did have a good point, I still wouldn't have agreed to it out of principle. Just like, no, motherfucker. Like I know what you're trying to do.
Yeah.
Absolutely not.
Well, what pisses me off is that, it's Hookwolf. He's this supposed to be sort of like Weld in this case. We have the two giant metal brutes that are way too smart for their own, for their pants, And on one hand, you have Weld, who we like, and he is a smart cookie, and he really surprises us. We knew he was book smart. He really is book smart here. But at the same time, Hookwolf comes in with way more intelligence than I give him credit for, and I hate giving him credit for, and I'm upset about it. But he comes in as like, let me give all of these options, none of which you're going to accept. He knows that.
Yeah.
He's playing it up like he's being generous and magnanimous and trying to come up with a solution, and they're just being obstinate. When none of those are acceptable options.
Yeah.
But he's like, I'm trying here.
It's a good move. It's a good move on his part.
It's such a smart move. I hate that I have to give him credit for it.
I mean, that again, I think this is what makes it good writing, though, is that like the bad guys aren't bad and we hate them. When they have smart moments like this, it's like, fuck you, man, it's good tactics. Like I hate you and I hate everything you stand for, but it's still good tactics. And it's well-written characters.
Yeah. Also, Taylor gets a power upgrade. Can kind of hear through bugs now.
Well, not quite. It's mentioned
Yeah.
that she did do it while she was asleep.
That she potentially
or
has
unconscious.
Yeah.
That counts as kind of.
She's got
Yeah,
she's got the potential.
Yeah, she's got it in her head. And, now we're going to work on the experience points to unlock that.
Heck
Now that we know it's in the skill tree.
Yes, exactly.
Something that is achievable. I love that.
And then we move on to my favorite part of every part of these stories, which is mundane team bonding.
Wait, is this the part where everyone's taking off their masks and vibing and Taylor doesn't for a minute?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So back at the Travelers' hideout, which is just I love that they picked the most random little parking garage, but hiding in plain sight, basically.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, I guess we'll just take off our masks for anyone now.
Yeah, geez. That was
Yeah,
fast.
Like, man, let me tell you, if there's one thing I know about the Undersiders, it's they're just willing to lose masks at the drop of a hat. Like,
it's because they're trusting.
they're so trusting. The second time they met Taylor, they all showed up in casual wear. And she was like, oh, clearly I'm overdressed,
Mhm.
And then same here, we're like, everybody throws off their masks and like leaves it everywhere. I'm like, well, I guess we just do that now. Okay. Do secret identities mean nothing to anyone anymore?
Yeah, for real. I do like that Taylor does hesitate. Like she does have that moment of, okay, all right. I guess I'll take my helmet off, but okay.
Well, I think it's
It's
funny
okay.
because they're at a point, especially now, post Leviathan, like if nobody recognizes her as like a secret friend or something like that, or a neighbor, nobody's gonna know who she is or who any of them are. Like none of them have spy satellites looking at the city and anything like that. Like it's an interesting, it's a great play on an old trope where identity is so important. And I'm reminded, I feel like we mentioned this scene specifically before, but it's super relevant. The scene in the Justice League animated adventures where Lex Luthor takes control of Flash's body.
Yep.
Yes.
The
And he's
great
like,
brain
well-
robbery episode.
Yeah. It's like, well, I can't do much, but at least I can figure out his secret identity. Takes off the mask. I have no idea who this is.
Oh, good. Great, I love it.
That's this scene here. Is they're all going like, I know who you are now. I do not know who you are.
Yeah.
The whole time.
Yeah. Because, even now, since society has somewhat fallen apart, what does it even matter? Like, somebody recognizes you. What does it even matter? What are they going to go do? Like, unless they know where you live and who your dad is, like,
I think
the
that
worst
is the
that's gonna
concern
happen-
for Taylor, honestly.
I,
is
like,
them
literally, I
finding
think
out
that's
who her
the concern.
dad is. It's literally that.
No, what's interesting, speaking of that though, is that we really only know what Taylor is sort of protecting with her identity. Pretty much, like you said, Hannah, just her dad and her address, her home. That's about it. But like, we don't really know too much about everybody else beyond what Taylor can see, and a little bit we've glimpsed in interludes. But most of them, for the most part, seems don't have much to worry about. Like, Brian has Imp as a sister. That's about it. And she's got powers now, so not too much to worry about there. Alec is basically not wearing a mask. Everybody knows who he is. And doesn't really matter. Bitch doesn't really care. She's got nothing except her dogs. And then Lisa, we don't know much about, but doesn't seem to hint at too much she's protecting. So like Taylor really is the only one with anything worth, protecting by keeping a secret identity.
Yeah.
So it does it makes sense that she would.
That's
hesitate.
true. That's true.
I mean, Danny really is the only reason at this
Yeah.
point.
And
Like, she has to
wouldn't
protect
we all?
Danny.
Yeah.
Of course. Anything to protect Danny.
He
Mhm.
must be protected at all costs.
Yeah. Speaking of protecting my lungs. Trickster, why are you smoking cigarettes? You're like,
Because he's cool.
no,
He is
no, I
so
have specifically right here. Smoking is not cool, especially when Trickster does it. Because Trickster, you're like, what, 16? Like, chill out, dude.
He's hardcore.
With your
Yes.
red Phantom of the Opera mask outfit. Like,
Oh, fuck yes.
no.
Oh, always
He's a little
fan.
goofy goober who stopped
Yeah,
by the
well,
Halloween the spirit of Halloween. And
we
while on
love
the
him
way
for
out,
it.
he picked up a pack of cigarettes he found on the ground, and he was like, chicks
Are we
will
sure
dig
they're not
this.
just like candy cigarettes either?
So they're 100% candy cigarettes that he tried to light on fire.
Just
Yeah.
a birthday
And they're
candle.
smoldering, but it's really just the paper that's alight. It's not
Yeah.
Yep.
actually anything.
Eats it afterwards.
Right? It just jumps away. Oh my gosh. We do finally get a Noelle description, which I obviously I did not remember anything about Noelle. And so my comment just says, okay, but she seems so normal.
Right?
She's in like a red sweatshirt. Like she just looks like she hasn't slept in like 3 days. Like this is the buried girl, the girl underground. Like the
Mhm.
fuck?
Oh, the mystery around Noelle is great. I remember
And I
being
don't remember
just,
at all.
I remember
Very
really loving
frustrating.
it the first time I read the story, and still feels just as good. It's a really fun mystery.
Hmm.
I think it's because all of the travelers are just so full of mystery at this point, and there's a
Mhm.
lot of fun around that aspect of who they are. They're the only group that Taylor really interacts with that seems to, like, they don't have, like, all the other gangs have their thing, like, oh, the white supremacists or the Asian bad boys or Skidmark's crew are just the junkies, or
The merchants?
Fault Line's crew, the merchants. That's what I
Okay.
got. Fault Line's
I was
crew
like,
and
Skid Mark's
merchants.
D-gens
crew.
from up.
Yeah,
Yeah,
there we
pretty
go.
much.
Thank you. Fault Line's crew is what I was thinking. Yeah, Fault Line's crew's got their whole thing going, and like then you've got the travelers who are just traveling, and that's who they are, and you're trying to figure out who they are. And Noelle fits so well into that. It's a lot of fun.
Mm.
Also, just Noelle's brief scene in Dinah's interlude
Mhm.
is
Yes.
so creepy.
Yeah, the combination of this
Really
scene
is.
with that scene and knowing,
Yes.
we've seen that scene and we're like, okay, she seems
Mhm.
so reasonable here, but we know more about her
Right.
because of that previous interlude.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So again, just the mystery of Noelle and why is she so significant. It's been mentioned before, but it's brought up again that, the only reason Crawler picked her is because he's looking for something he thinks could hurt him.
Mm-hmm.
And so clearly there's a lot more going on, but we see her and we're like, oh, she looks normal.
She looks
right?
normal.
What we can, we see her. She looks normal. Everything seems fine. What's the big deal? And so that mystery
Mhm.
being played out is so fun and so interesting. And very well written to be spooky, I think.
Yeah.
I'll say it again. The idea by Wildbow to create a masochist whose power is to get hurt is the cruelest, grossest thing. I absolutely love it. Crawler is terrifying.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I was going to say, speaking of Crawler and the 9,
Yeah.
we're ready to move on to the next chapter.
Yeah. Move on. A man just comes out and says it.
Yeah. She really does.
Take that, you worm.
Take that, you
Just-
worm.
Hey.
I wrote the worm in my
The
notes.
worm.
The worm.
Yeah, mine is all caps, many exclamation points.
Same. Oh my gosh. Alan, take
And
a
then
screenshot
immediately
of that.
afterwards, Jack, just in the voice, I can hear it. Clever worm.
Yep.
It's so
There you
good. I love it. I love
There
it
it
so
is.
much. Yeah, that whole interaction is so good. I have such I'm such a huge fan of the Jack and Bonesaw combo. I just love it so much, and it's made even all the better with Siberian and just kind of that weird dynamic that they all have together is just
Yeah.
so fascinating to me. And everything about this interaction is so like creepy and weird and also so unsettling. And it's a great, meetup moment for this conversation to happen this
Yeah.
way. Like, ugh.
I love that scene, where Taylor is thinking, okay, what are we going to do? How are we going to get out of this? And she's trying to formulate some kind of plan. And Jack just looks at her and goes, you're thinking way too hard. You should stop.
Mhm.
It's
Yes.
just like,
Ah.
just the spook moment of just like,
Okay.
oh
Yeah.
no. He's listening.
good.
And
It's
more
so
props to
good.
Wildbow here too. I love how creepy the Jack Bonesaw Siberian trio is without feeling inappropriate.
Yeah.
I want to put that out there. Like, really fine line to walk, and he walks it very well, because I never really do feel like grossed out by their interactions. It's just creepy, and it can just live there. But it's very well written to kind of avoid that connotation.
Yeah. So I was thinking about that. So to parallel these two dynamics, I think about Jack and Bonesaw versus Coil and Dinah, and how you have this older man, younger girl dynamic. But with Coil and Dinah, it's clearly very creepy, very creepy, and very weirdly possessive and like protective, but never in a good way. And the little pet names are they're very creepy and very predatory. While Bonesaw and Jack, the dynamic feels completely different. You still have the like older gentleman, younger girl dynamic, and the pet names too, even, and like holding her hand and stuff like that. But it feels completely different.
Yeah.
And I just, I kind of love that duality.
That's a good point. Sure. I like that comparison.
Maybe just the phrase "my pet" never works in any scenario.
No. Unless you're using it in the sentence, "My pet is cool." Like my dog.
My pet golden retriever.
I was going to say, as long as you're talking about an animal and not a person.
Right. And not a person. Jeez.
I mean, unless that's your thing. We don't want to kink shame here at the Brockton.
Well, we can kink shame a little.
That's fair.
Yeah, people say
to be fair, if you like,
here's the thing.
If you like being called pet, you probably like being kink shamed.
Oh, that's right. Getting shamed probably is your kink.
Dang it.
Gosh. Just Jacob's quiet. Dang it. So good. Gosh.
They figured me out.
I was about to say, Kat and I had our moments earlier on where, we talked about our smut. Now we get to reveal everybody else's choices.
In the words of Mariel, my kink is kink shaming.
That's disgusting. Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
You want that to go out to everyone, Nick?
I'll let you decide, Michael.
No,
don't put that on me.
Don't make poor Michael decide.
Do what you always do. Clip it and cut it.
Clip it and cut it and
then put it in out of context.
Out of context on Instagram. If you want all of our weird out of context, you should follow us on Instagram.
Yes.
Michael, if you ever have to cut a rant, save it and put it on our Patreon. That's right. You could subscribe to Patreon to hear our weird rants that got cut.
Heck yeah.
Brockton Bay Book Club on Patreon.
There you go. It is interesting too. Just getting back to that moment.
Yes.
The relationship between Siberian and Bonesaw, which we find out more about in Jack's interlude, is just such an interesting one too. Right, the big sister, little sister, weirdly kind of reminds me of BioShock. The big quiet creature that carries the tiny little girl.
The big daddies,
the big daddy and the little sisters. But yeah, just that is such an interesting relationship dynamic that all of them have. And so then we have Cherish there as well.
Yes.
Who presumably came because of because she thought her brother might be there, wanting to torture him further. But what a scene between Tattletale and Jack. Now, if I had a nickel for every time Tattletale using her power got her fucked up, I'd have 2 nickels.
But still.
Which isn't a lot.
Odd that it's happened twice.
Girl, you gotta think about what you say sometimes.
Yeah.
Right.
It really goes back to like, everybody should live in a slightly constant fear that what they say could have get them punched in the face.
Right.
And I think more people should just think about that. And Tattletale should be number 1 on that. Like, never forget, like, as smart as you are and like, yes, like, let me just take you apart with my words. Glory Girl's going to punch you in the face. Like,
you're going to get hit with a fire hydrant. Come on.
Yeah, like she's not gonna care. It's like, if I have this suicide vest on and I blow myself up and then they just punch you. And it's like, whoops, like looks like they didn't care about the moral quandary or the oh no, what are we gonna do? Because they don't think that far ahead. Sometimes they just punch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This part might not need to get cut out because I don't know if it's worth including. But I've been seeing this clip from a movie or a show. I don't know where it's from, but it's like this giant monster is approaching this group of soldiers. One of the soldiers runs forward, pulls out 2 grenades, and pulls the pin. Expecting the monster to eat him.
Oh, you're thinking of
Kong
Skull
Island.
Island. Yep, Skull
Skull
Island.
Island.
Skull Island.
Yep.
Yeah, expecting the
Yep.
monster to eat him. And then immediately the monster just spins around, tail whips him across the canyon,
yeah.
and he blows up on the mountain.
That was the best part of that movie. Actually.
No, that movie fucking rocked. I will not hear any slander. Michael, you better cut your own self out of this whole thing.
But that being said, that's kind of what it reminds me of with Tattletale. She just like keeps talking. And even before Jack, cut her, I kind of got that feeling of just like, please, like,
shut up,
Tattletale, come on.
Yeah.
Like that, yeah. Her strategy doesn't work against the good guys. They beat her up. Like, what did she think was gonna happen?
Yeah. You're messing with the guy who has superhuman reach on his blades.
Golly.
You think it's not gonna, what are you thinking?
I mean,
I would
serial
argue
killer
too.
whose power is to cut people.
Exactly. And Jack, I feel like Jack is already hard enough to read. And then to have like this moment, which again, like we've seen already where Lisa has miscalculated the use of her powers, and her misinformation or lack of understanding has already gotten them into trouble multiple times. And because we did gloss over it just a little bit, but the moment right before these 4 members of the Slaughterhouse 9 show up, Tattletale is just now piecing together, oh, strange how bitch has a wolf pup out of fucking nowhere in the middle of this apocalyptic city. And we don't know who the 9th recruit member or the 8th recruit member is. We don't know who the last recruit member is. And it's like just now, she gets that, she makes that connection. So she's coming fresh off of a miscalculation and then decides, oh yeah, this is going to be the time that I'm going to run my mouth. Like, Tattletale, what are you doing?
Yeah.
It's high intelligence, low wisdom.
Low wisdom indeed. Jeez Louise. It's such a great introduction to them showing up because of her being like, oh shit. Like it's a great segue, but
yeah,
my girl needs to take her cockiness down a couple notches, which I mean, I'm assuming that this slash to the face will do, but
yeah,
and it's a great way of illustrating threat too. So like the one thing about the Leviathan arc that I think if you could try to criticize anything, that's my favorite arc in the whole story. So it's hard for me to do that, but would be that none of the Undersiders are even badly hurt. That's the chapter in this type of story where you expect one of them to die or, lose an arm or a leg or something like that.
Taylor did have her back broken.
That's true.
Yeah, but it was fixed.
Yeah, but in the Panacea fixed it. So
no lasting consequences.
No lasting
exactly.
consequences. Yeah,
right.
yeah. I know what you mean.
So when you go on to a group of more humanoid, save crawler looking creatures that are not Leviathan giant monsters, and you want to establish them as really, really powerful and really scary, having their real first interaction with them being essentially removing Tattletale from the equation is just such a power move.
Yeah.
I also wanted to talk about the psychological damage that has clearly been done to Cherish by the Slaughterhouse 9.
Mm-hmm.
Just that whole moment of her, of Jack explaining what she did, what she went through. It's just so brutal.
Yeah.
It hurt. It was one of those moments I'm like, ooh, this description is painful.
It's horrific. It really is. I wrote a huge chunk of this in my notes because it's so graphic. And like, I'm not going to say that every woman deals with this, but I would say that probably a majority of women deal with the whole thing of like our bodies that we live in, we already have a love-hate relationship with. It's already hard enough to exist in our skin. I think that's a human thing. I wouldn't even say that that's a woman thing. But it's hard enough to exist in your skin as is, much less having to deface it in such a way to morph and to modify and to ultimately mutilate this, for lack of a better word, the skin suit that you reside in. And like, because after everything, because like it's very clear through all of the tests that the Slaughterhouse-9 do to people is that we all have our different breaking points. We all have our moments that will crush us. And Cherish goes through the psychological terror of Shatterbird. She goes through the whole drinking the blood thing with Bonesaw, which is horrifying. And she gets hunted by Siberian. And then but the thing it is that breaks her out of everything is the tattoos. Like that's what breaks her down, to alter herself, to make herself so horrifying and ugly. Like that's what breaks her in the end, because pain is temporary. Pain is something that you can mentally say, just a little bit more, it's fine, and then it'll be over. But scars, those last. And the tattoos, those are lasting her for the rest of her life. There is no covering this up. She can never walk away from the Slaughterhouse-9 unscathed. She can never be anything other than what she has become to be part of the 9. And that is so, like, I've got goosebumps right now because it's so, there is no coming back. This is the final line. There is no coming back from this at all. And this moment where Lisa kind of reveals it and we realize that Jack and Bonesaw have known this whole time her fate has been sealed. Yeah, it just kind of the foreshadowing of her arc with Alec, where she picks him for the challenges and to test him. It really does, like, now you feel that foreshadowing where Alec is just like, Cherie, you have fucked up here. Like, you may not realize it, but you fucked up. And it kind of, now we see, I think she does realize it, but her last hope is that in the end, she can get them to believe that, or get them to think, oh, she's on, my side or something like that. Or like, using her powers to control them. That's like her last hope. And that's been taken away now from this scene. And so I think seeing that utter defeat is what's so crazy about this scene too. Is just, it hurts. That's heartbreaking. Yeah. But does she deserve it? No, she doesn't. No. But does she kind of deserve it? No.
That's what's hard about it. I hate this story so much because it makes you sympathize with these awful people. And it's so hard to read because you're just like, let her go, please. But also, she's killed so many people. Like, it's hard.
Yeah, she's made her bed and now she has to lie in it, kind of thing.
Yeah. Interesting. Also, do they, and this is me completely forgetting, if they do or will explain how a couple of them were immune to her?
Bonesaw knew what her powers did and put like an implant in people's brains.
Yeah.
Did they say that? Okay.
It's like inhibitor something.
Some kind of inhibitor.
In them. Yeah.
I mean, Bonesaw being the medical tinker, basically. Yeah, it's one of those Jesus. How does she do it? Nah, we don't know. But
who knows? It's in your blood. It's in your cells multiplying. Like,
in your soul.
It's good to know. Jesus.
Yeah.
Oh man, I feel like we'll have more to say about the 9 on Jack's interlude. So maybe come back to it unless there's some lingering thoughts on that chapter.
Just to say again, I fucking love the Slaughterhouse-9.
They are great.
They are great.
Really, really fun characters in horrific ways.
Yes.
All right, so moving past the 9 for now, we'll be back. I should say moving past that chapter because they stick around.
Section. Yeah.
Yeah. Hannah, do you want to hit us with some more summary?
Yes, I can. So chapter 5. So at the end of 4, they kind of revealed that Shatterbird is about to sing, and they all know what that means. So Taylor in chapter 5, Taylor is racing to reach her dad before Shatterbird sings, and meanwhile she's trying to let people know as much as she can. Chapter 6, Skitter, after the singing goes off, Skitter organizes the wounded in her territory, tries to save as many of the lives that she can, and then Mannequin shows up, which I'll just go into the rest of this. Chapter 7, Taylor and Mannequin fight in a absolutely brutal one-on-one, and Mannequin leaves without his head. And I'll stop there.
Lovely.
Yeah.
Man, the scene of her racing through the neighborhood trying to reach her dad,
Yes.
knowing there's a countdown, is one of the most tense scenes
Ugh.
I think in the story so far, and that's including the Leviathan stuff
Right.
and the conversation just now with the Slaughterhouse 9.
Right.
But I think
Yeah.
knowing the stakes for Taylor and knowing how important this is to her, like this is the one thing she has left in a way that's keeping her connected to the normal world, you might say.
Yeah.
It's just such a brutal feeling to see that.
Super tense.
God, I love it.
Yeah.
Completely off task from that. We finally get a name for the fat guy who died.
What?
Did we? What was his name?
Yeah,
I
so
missed it.
she's running through the city, and I think
Oh, you're
this
right.
is-
Oh.
and
I
she
know what you're talking
mentions
about.
like, oh man, like I'm trying to save people now because I couldn't save people before, maybe.
Right.
Like, and then she says his name. It's Chubster.
Oh my god.
Okay, I don't think
forgot
that's
about that.
is that his actual name, or is that
I did
It's
not
just
stay in
No,
my
it's
head.
his name.
I think that is his actual name.
God.
what?
That was 100%.
It was-
I'm not gonna speculate into Wildbow's writing styles and habits,
No.
but I have to imagine, just because of the way the format of a web serial works,
Right,
he
right.
typed that in, put it in as like a placeholder. I'll come back, and then hit published anyway, and forgot about it, and went,
Yep.
"Well, that's his name now."
Canon now. It's canon.
Whoops.
Oh my goodness, that's great. Thank you for telling us that. That's amazing.
You're very welcome. I that's something that stuck out to me
God.
so much. I'm like, I have to
Yeah.
know about this.
Naturally.
Absolutely.
Oh my gosh.
Okay, back to her running.
Yeah, back to her running through the city in absolute terror.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Again, she's multitasking. She's got
Yep.
all of her bugs trying to get everybody, protected as fast as possible. She's got Sierra on the phone, or is it Charlotte? It's Sierra on the phone.
I believe
At the
so.
hospital.
In the
trying to-
hospital, yeah.
Yeah, to like try and get everybody to take cover where they can.
I
But
like to imagine that she put up a message with her bugs in the houses that said something to the effect of, "Okay, everybody, listen. You might not know who Shatterbird is, but here's the rundown." And like, it's just this paragraph of text. So
oh my god,
stay away from
Love it.
glass, hide under things. Like someone's gonna read and get to the very end and not make it in time.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh.
Yeah.
Like,
Literally,
what do you think?
the
I was gonna because I'm joking
no
there,
time
but
to
like, what do you
explain.
think she said? Yeah, to
Well,
try to.
I
Oh,
think
yeah,
enough
could you-
people know who the
Could you
Slaughterhouse
imagine
Nine
the
are.
absolute fear if you just like look up and on the wall are a bunch of bugs that just say the word hide?
Ooh.
Ugh,
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah.
yeah.
Take
Like,
cover.
But
I
also hide,
is
but
some horror novel.
hide,
Well,
and then
you
in
know
parentheses. But don't call for help. Your phone won't save you.
Yeah.
Oh,
You know.
God.
Oh god.
Well, on like newscasts at the bottom, they have like the ticker tape with the text that's just going
Mhm.
by, but
Yeah.
it's like very limited. I kind of imagine that that's what's happening. The
It's
bugs are like
bugs cycling
scrambling, cycling in through. It's like all these words that you're trying to read, and you like lose track. You get distracted by like a cockroach, and you're like, "Oh God, I missed that word. Fuck,
Yeah,
what did
yeah.
it say?"
It's all train of thought too. So it's just like, oh, okay, all right. So the Slaughterhouse Nine are here, and Shatterbird's about to get away from the glass and throw
It's
your
like
phone
her
out and take
thoughts
off your
instead
glasses.
of-
And
yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
but you
Shit.
bring up a good point. You do bring up a good point, Alan, because everybody does know who the Slaughterhouse Nine are. Like Brockton Bay is not the
Yeah.
first city they've hit, and it's not the second or the third either. By the
and
sound of
this
it,
is their modus operandi.
I was about to say,
exactly,
Every time they
Shatterbird
come
sings every time they come into town, which
exactly.
Jack talks about in his interlude.
because she's
So, like,
a diva.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So like if you just put S9 on the walls, people would
Mhm.
probably know. Like, oh shit.
S9 hide. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that probably would work. But also, man, just once again, what a brutal world. Imagine just trying to
Oh.
live there and just being like,
Golly.
well,
Just trying to
we
exist.
could be next. Slaughterhouse 9 could be here any minute.
Ugh.
Yeah,
Gosh.
Is
And
it
then it
better to live in a
happens.
small town or not at that point?
probably.
I think so.
Ugh.
I think
yeah.
I think living out in the middle of the countryside, like it would probably be the best option. Because like, what's the worst villain you probably deal with? Redneck Jim, who's just trying to make some moonshine.
Here's the thing,
Redneck
though.
Jim.
Like, someone triggers because they got found by a bear, and now they have bear powers, and then they're running your whole town. So I don't know. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, there's
that's
got to
true.
be a little bit of a balance. To
Yeah.
be fair, well, never mind. That's a spoiler. I won't say that.
ooh,
Ah!
Yeah. How many trigger events are just DUIs?
Oh God.
oh,
I imagine that's every small town. It's just like, yeah, we had
Yeah.
30 DUIs, which accounted for like 50% of the triggers.
I was going to say,
gosh.
The other 50% were domestic
Oh, no.
abuse.
Oh,
No.
I was going to say, wait,
Fuck.
the small towns are where all the terrible things happen, though.
Yeah.
It's rural America that's suffering and
That's true.
suicide
Yeah, that's
rates
true.
and poverty. It's like the small towns are probably not the place to be. Just
Yeah, what's your
full of
ability?
it.
I
Nowhere
can't
safe.
feel. I basically have no ability to feel pain or anything else
Yeah.
for that matter. It's like, oh, I wonder what caused that.
Yeah,
Pick your poison. Which town you want? They're both bad.
Jesus.
it's no good. What we're getting at is it sucks no matter
Nowhere
where you
is
are.
safe.
Yeah, nowhere is safe.
Unless you're rich.
Yeah, unless you're very,
Oh,
very
incidentally
wealthy.
enough, the rich people
Unless
are less
Alan
likely
is
to
your
get
dad.
powers.
Why does this sound so
Wait,
familiar?
what was that?
I said, unless Alan is your dad.
Oh,
Not
gosh,
you,
you-
Alan. The
You gotta
Alan,
be
the lawyer Alan.
specific. Also, which we'll get into later. Yeah, we'll get into the Allens later. Don't you worry.
Yeah, we will. There's
Shout
so
out
many
Alan and-
Allens. Wait, why are there actually so many Allens in this book? We'll talk about that at a later date.
And we know we got some Allens listening. Shout out you guys.
Yeah, for real. We do have an Allen listener, and we appreciate
least one.
every comment you leave.
Heck yeah.
We read them all, just so you know.
Shout out.
We have an Allen listener too.
We do. We
yes,
do.
he
I'll tell you
comments
about
on
it
all of
later.
our YouTube videos. He's amazing.
He's
Oh
commenting
my
on
gosh.
every
Well, okay,
single
well, you know
episode.
what?
He's
We'll get into
he's
it.
huge.
We'll get into it later.
Okay,
I've
well,
got
when we get to the
got
Allens,
feelings.
yeah. Okay, all right.
All right.
Yeah.
The glass
So-
shatters, and
Glass does.
man, that is fucking glass and sand burns
Oh my
and
God.
inhalation.
Mm.
Completely
Fuck.
forgot about that.
All of that. I have inhaled like a dumbass, shavings while I was grinding a cauldron. Don't ask more. But
Yeah.
I was breathing in that because my
So
mask
many
wasn't.
questions.
It's a long story.
My mask was not, for that. It wasn't good enough. So I was breathing in metal shavings. And let me tell you how hard it was to
Ugh.
breathe for like a week after.
yeah.
Like,
Mm.
just glass.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it's rough.
I mean, they're
Oh my
also a
gosh.
coastal town, so you have all the beaches. So all that sand
Yeah.
is just a tsunami of sand cloud just everywhere.
Imagine going to
It's a
the beach
sandstorm through the
to
city.
try to
didn't
cheer up
think
your
about that.
family because
Well,
Leviathan.
no. I already
buried
hate.
your house.
You started off. You're not going to cheer me up at the beach to begin with. I already hate it. It's got sand
Okay.
everywhere. It's coarse. It's irritating. I hate it.
He said
That's true.
imagine. He said
I
imagine.
did
Yeah,
say
imagine,
imagine.
Alan.
Just
Imagine.
try.
Imagine.
Leviathan,
Trying.
Your best.
Leviathan
Take me
sinks
there.
your home. So you bring the kids and the wife to the beach, just to like try to
No.
bring some spark of joy.
Yep.
It's a
And
tradition
then
you've had your whole life. You go every
Just hear the
summer.
ringing in
Yep,
your
yep, yep.
ears and sandstorm.
Jesus.
Do-do-do-do-do.
No place is safe.
You know that?
I was,
you know the story
Alan, I
of
was
the
just
guy.
about to do the same thing.
It's like everyone
That's
knows
the
this-
song
this-
she gets up and sings. She gets up to the top of the city, and the scream is just.
I think I'm missing
Yeah.
a reference.
There's a song called Sandstorm, and that's
You know that.
I love how we all immediately just go, the one that goes like, and then-
Well, I'm proud of every single one
It's
of you.
okay. I'll make a meme about a city exploding, and I'll just put Darude Sandstorm over that.
Yeah.
Solid.
Yeah.
Then everyone will get it.
It's just Jack Slash saying, "This is so sad." Shatterbird, play Sandstorm.
Basically.
Gosh.
Oh my
Goodness.
gosh.
Also, bless you, Charlotte, for just giving the call, making because it's Charlotte that sends. That's like, oh, Taylor's, giving all the stuff to, at the hospital,
Mhm.
and then goes ahead and just calls. Was it Tattletale? I forget who she calls, and essentially sends the paramedics her way, the dad's house.
Mm.
Was
I think
she?
Am I wrong on
Somebody
that? I'm
did.
trying to remember.
I don't
didn't think
think
it was
it's
Charlotte.
her.
I have
No.
bless you, Charlotte, so I'm assuming that's who. It gets
Well-
kind of confused in here.
Because
I mean, I
somebody
could always check.
alerts Coyle, and Coyle, because Coyle has all his men
Right.
take glass out of all the cars and everything
Yes,
like
they
that.
take the windshield out of the ambulance.
Mm.
But maybe I don't think it would have been Charlotte. But
Let
I
us know
can't
in the
honestly
I
comments.
don't
remember.
think it was.
Yeah. Somebody correct us. I'm sure you will. I can't remember who it is, so maybe it was. I don't know.
I'm gonna look it
Figure
up.
it out. But either way, bless you, Charlotte.
Yeah. So she does that, and then the paramedics show up, and you're like, oh, Dad, you're okay, but he's unconscious, and the paramedics are like, hey, we're here to help, and then she's like, oh my goodness, wait a minute, and I can just hear the paramedic like handing her the mask, and is like, hey, don't forget this. She's like, dumbass. Can't just leave shit lying around like that if you're going to keep your identity secret.
Yeah.
It's a great scene, though. It's a
Mhm.
great little moment.
She's all flustered.
Yeah. It's
Oh wait,
good.
no, that's not that. I know what this is. This is further along.
I was about to say I was literally
You're
pulling
reading
up the
it.
chapter.
This
to
is
look
all
at it
for the
and,
next
no.
chapter. That's why
Oh.
it's
Yeah.
the paramedic is the one looking at her when she's like, glass can't be detected by x-rays.
Yeah,
Paramedic, dumbass. Sorry. Some of them can, I guess.
At least not the small ones. Oh God.
It's
Yeah.
just like
the feeling you
my
get.
God, fucking just stop talking. Because his head whips around. She's like, it can't do this. It's just like, the fuck you say?
Yeah. Okay, before
I see that
we
you've
jump-
stepped into the topic that I know too much about.
Yeah.
My favorite.
Yeah, the bless you, Charlotte must have been when people were congregating and like she's like, do what I say, and nobody does what Taylor says.
Yeah.
And then Charlotte's like, I'll do what you say. She's like, thank you, Charlotte. Remind me to give you a bonus.
Jacob, get a little closer to the mic and say it again.
Oh, I will say it again. Are we ready to move on? Or did anyone have a final thought on that chapter?
I mean, I
Mhm.
have a lot of thoughts, but I feel like we've said them all already.
Save it for the special release that
What?
people can find
Don't
on
make
our Patreon.
promises. No.
I will make as many promises as I damn well please. And
There's still room.
Man, we are
people
spicy tonight.
if people pay me money to fulfill those promises, damn it, I will fulfill them.
I'll tell you right now, people.
Damn, Jacob.
Right as of right now, when we were recording this, we have 2 free members on Patreon. We're gonna lock that down soon. What I do know is that our special Slaughterhouse 9 tier, of which there are only 9 available slots
Only 9.
True.
Yeah,
for
that's right.
$9 a month, that could be you.
Mhm.
And during our Slaughterhouse 9 arc, maybe we'll say your names. Maybe we'll give a shout out to our
Oh, we
Slaughterhouse
definitely will.
9. But with that, we need you to subscribe. We need you to subscribe because there's a limited slots, and
just
you could be the
to-
first.
And just to clarify, so there's no confusion, I can be bought and my price is low.
It's a pizza. We've been saying it all this time.
That's
It's
really-
a pizza, singular.
A
Doesn't even have to go
single
to
pizza.
anybody. I just want to buy a pizza with the money we make. That's how you've made it as a podcast.
Exactly.
One singular pizza. We all get one slice.
Anyway, back on track.
Yeah.
So
Continuing the horror villain moments. Mannequin just showing up.
Golly.
It's a good time for everybody.
Oh my gosh.
And just the way she like looks around and realizes, wait, that ambulance is really quiet. Wait, everybody inside is dead. Wait, it's just this like
not just
constant,
dead. They're like
Slaughtered.
spun around.
Slaughtered.
Yeah.
Their heads are like whoop, and then the one guy's like, I forget if he was like stapled to the ceiling, basically, or whatnot. Like,
Oh gosh.
Again, just brutal.
It really is.
Yeah, as if Taylor didn't already get like no end of shit for all the good things she does.
For
now
real.
she's got to deal with this shit.
No rest
Like
for the
she was
wicked,
just dealing with that old bitch who was probably an anti-vaxxer too.
Oh yeah.
She gave off such strong anti-vaxxer vibes. And now we've got to deal with this old bitch. Oh wait, no you don't anymore. So who's to say that Mannequin was the villain, you know? Maybe Taylor stopped him from doing some good work.
Taylor just sees him doing it and just does the Willy Wonka. Wait, no, stop.
I will say that was so obnoxious that she's trying to help. We're trying to organize everyone. We're trying to make things happen. And people are so fucking selfish and obnoxious. It's like, it just makes me upset because it's really, I think we talked about this last time as well when we were doing Arc 11. But the idea that people are shit and things that are awful that happen they don't tend to bring out the good in people. They tend to bring out more shit in people. And it's just shown all over again. Like we see the same dad here from, chapter 1, and he's being a fucking cunt again. And it's like it's so frustrating to me that you can have such awful things be happening, and it's realistic too. And like that's why it's so frustrating. It's like people are shitty for the most part, and like they will, obviously you have the couple one-off people who are self-sacrificial, but like for the most part, people are shitty, and they will do anything in their power to make sure they are protected. And like Skitter is just trying to help. She's just trying to help, and people want to fight her every step of the way, and it's so freaking frustrating. Makes me upset.
She gets so much shit when she does hero stuff and gets nothing but praise when she's doing villain things.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
How?
It's true.
I don't know. If I were her, I'd be like, hey, yo, Mannequin, you got room for one more? Just like gestures at that dude. Right here. Here, over here. Mannequin, I found him right here. This one.
Just using like a laser pointer to spot people.
Mannequin goes into like cat mode with a little butt wiggle.
Just with the sharpest claws.
The sharpest claws. No. He's making biscuits, but the person is just getting shredded.
Oh, what a detective Mittens. No. Meow, 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 meow.
No, not
meow,
Detective
meow, meow. Mittens.
Oh my god, this is such an unhinged episode. Oh my god.
Yeah.
So sorry, Michael.
I love it so much.
But it only gets better, Michael, because this motherfucker's anime running. Just start talking about he leaves his arms back and then starts running, and they're like trailing behind him.
Leaves his arms behind him.
I was gonna say, in my mind when I read that, it's less anime running and more just like he doesn't put any motion into his arms because he doesn't need to. Like humans move their arms when they run for balance, but if he doesn't need to, then his arms are just sort of like they're like weapons. They're just extensions of his body. So it's such a terrifying image. Just this bipedal creature sprinting at you with his arms just flapping around at his side.
Oh my god, it's like a fucking marionette. That's what it's like.
Yeah.
And we all know marionettes are fucking creepy.
It's true. If I remember the quote right, they talk about his arms trail behind him like ribbons. And all I can think is like it's like SpongeBob. Running, but Naruto. But it's like,
oh my god.
It's terrifying, but it's a goofy motherfucker.
This is my nerd
Fucking
moment. Have any of you guys seen Naruto?
No,
never.
No,
a few.
Sorry.
Okay, that's okay. I think a few Naruto fans might have a guess as to what I'm talking about, but
Mhm.
if there are any in our listeners.
Oh, there
Um,
are. There
But
definitely
there is a
Oh, I think I know where
character.
you're going.
There is a character who is a puppet master.
Yep.
And it is revealed
Yeah.
in his final fight that
Spoilers for
he is
Shippuden.
spoilers for a 20-year-old anime, not that old, but old. But it is revealed that he himself is a puppet, and it's very similar vibes to that, where it's like, oh, he was this all along. But part of it, of course, is it's the total anime run where he jumps forward really fast with his
Mhm.
puppet mannequin arms behind him. It's exactly the same with
Gross.
mannequin, except what I imagine for mannequin, and this is I'm not there for dissecting worm and turning it into a TV show, but I would love it if mannequin made no sound most of the fight, like
Oof.
90% of the fight,
Yeah.
just to add to the
agree.
creep factor, because I think that's
For
what's
real.
needed for that to really
I
have
like
that
it.
effect.
That would be
Making
cool.
notes.
But he is kind of clanky with all of his chains.
By the end,
And
he
let
should
me
be
tell-
clanky. By the end, he should
Let
be
me tell
clanky for
you,
sure.
It's a
as somebody who
well-oiled
works with
Gene Allen.
yeah, but he has
Wow.
chains. And let me tell you, as somebody who works with chains on a daily basis, they are the loudest motherfucking thing on the planet when they do anything. They're
but he's a-
so
that's
loud.
fair.
He's
That's
a
fair.
tinker. His chains are probably well lubed.
Yeah,
He's got
it's
special
very-
chains.
They're so slick.
My special James.
Look, Skitter, look
Yep.
at my special chains. My brand.
So many good memes coming out of this shit.
Oh gosh.
Oh my god.
But also, can we talk for a moment about
Please.
how cool Mannequin's tinker power is?
Mm.
And again, just we love Wild Bow on this podcast, if that isn't clear. And
Just a smidge.
the frame of mind to take a tinker ability of being able to create like biomes and living spheres and life systems, life support systems and things like that, and to turn that concept literally, because that's he talks about who that character
Mhm.
was, into this super self-contained being that wraps himself in what's the word I'm thinking of? I'm drawing a blank. Redundancies.
Regenerative.
Yeah,
Redundancies,
Yeah.
yeah. And protections and miniature biomes, and it's just so cool. It's
Yeah.
just a great power.
I think this might be the first example we've had of a hero going bad. Because we'll see, the flip around. But this is the first example I feel like where we've had a person have a trigger, they go hero, or
Might be right.
have that go on, but then something else happens to them and they flip over to the other side.
Mhm.
And Taylor says it, uses his ability to protect himself and only himself.
Mhm.
When before he was a known scientist, tinker
Yeah.
that was basically going to be a world saver.
Yeah.
Like when
Yeah.
it comes to all these ecological
world
problems
hunger
and
and
disaster,
water.
like this guy was going to be the guy,
Yeah.
And when he went bad, instead of the world, he focused on himself. That's it.
Yeah.
Like, holy cow.
Yeah. He's
Yeah,
a really
so
interesting character.
That's a main character of another story. If anywhere
like it.
else,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like Worm
It's
is
really
full
good.
of that. Like all these characters could be protagonists in
Mhm.
this story if you wanted
Very
to focus on
compelling.
them. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Also, this motherfucker has vents. He vents. He
Ugh.
thinks of everything.
Yeah.
The bugs go into the socket holes, and he's just like, "No, I'm gonna blow hot air, hot compressed air, and flush all that out."
Yeah.
We've been venting this entire episode, so I was a little confused for a second. It's like, wait, does he go on a rant?
Yes,
I was
A
Alan.
thinking
very
about-
long.
I thought you were
Yes,
referring to
every-
the Among Us thing where they vent and go to no.
Oh my
Oh
gosh!
my.
And they also have the spike. They do the spiky thing,
They do.
They do.
They do. He
Gosh.
does do the spike.
and he crawls through the vents.
He does.
Mhm.
It's all connected. Worm X Among Us.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, but no, you're
Um,
right. Like
yeah.
even when Taylor thinks she gets a slight upper hand against an opponent who, for all intents and purposes, is completely immune to her power, And even then, he still has like a contingency in place. It's like, no,
Yep.
A slight
That's
aside,
yeah.
the whole clock thing that Taylor mentions, she's like, damn, I need to put some bugs on a clock permanently
Oh,
just so I
yeah.
can keep track of time.
Jeez.
Genius.
It's
Yeah.
genius, but this
I would have
girl,
never thought about that in a
she
billion
does
years.
18 billion things at once. Like, and this is something that I just, oh gosh, this is something Wildbow knocks out of the park every time, is when Taylor is playing through all the different scenarios, or like all the things that she could be doing, or she's doing like 8 million different things with her bugs. It's so impressive that she is so many steps ahead of all of these different moments, and she's constantly thinking about how to make her process better, like with the clock thing, like the bugs on the hands of the clock. Like she's thinking about it, and it's very easy to read this and be like, oh yeah, Taylor's so fucking smart, but Wildbow fucking wrote this. Like Wildbow's the one who made this all happen, and I'm just it fills me with so much jealousy that I am clearly, like, I am not smart enough to write this kind of shit. Like I am not thinking so many steps ahead to be able to write
Very
a
impressive.
character like Taylor, because her brain is always going, a mile a minute.
Yeah.
And it's so impressive that Wildbow can do this, that he can like write these characters that are so vastly different. So, as we're jumping with the interludes, and then feel like we're in their heads so well. It's just so I'm very impressed. I'm very impressed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Indeed.
Regardless, Taylor gets her ass kicked in like
She really
the
does.
first 10 seconds.
Really does.
Like she makes like 2 attempts. He does a spinny like top thing, smacks the shit out of her, and then has to like play dead because he like thinks he cut her throat. Like
Yeah.
that's the start of the fight.
Yeah.
It happens
wild.
so quickly.
I mean, honestly, I feel like she should have died. So
She should have.
Yeah.
There's a bit of plot armor, but it's made of spider silk.
Of spider silk.
Yeah.
Spider
It's a
Silk
little
carries
strong.
so much in this.
It really
It
It
does.
also does help. I feel like that her opponent is blind. Apparently,
Yes.
Yeah.
It's true.
like actually,
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
She even says like at one point, I have no idea how he's detecting me.
Mhm.
Because that's part of what she's trying to figure out is how she can use her bugs to slow him down.
Yeah.
And again, very interesting.
I also
system he's
got the
built for himself.
impression, I got the impression too that Mannequin wasn't trying to kill her at first. Like, if his goal was to go there and kill her, he wouldn't have messed around with the ambulance and the
Yeah.
people and making a scene
Mhm.
to get her attention. Like, he's toying with her at the start.
Yeah,
Well, the-
I
yeah,
think it gets to the
mentions-
point where he gets a little desperate, but he's very much trying to hurt her as badly as he can.
oh, of course.
Well, it's
Mhm.
talked about in the interlude, like why he's there. It's not even to attack her directly. It's that he hates seeing people succeed where he failed.
Yeah.
Mm,
Yeah.
yeah.
The whole
you're right.
thing of like he was, in this case, I think it's his wife and daughter,
Yeah.
where like he was trying to protect the world and they still ended up dying, even though, like
yeah.
he works in biomes and saving people and whatnot, they still died. And he has this vendetta against seeing other people try to do that. Like anytime he sees people try to save other people or help other people, he hates that shit because he failed at it. And Taylor is actually succeeding at this. And so he's really not having it with her shit. So like this is him going there to make her watch like him tear what she's done apart.
Yeah, for sure.
Mhm.
If I can't have it, nobody can.
Ugh. Gosh, I
What-
love a
what a
good
little
villain.
bitch.
Fuck. No, I love it. Jesus, it's so good. It's so
It's-
good.
It is. That all being said, I love this fight. I love, Mannequin. I love the atmosphere. I do not like the conclusion to this fight.
Why do you think
Really?
you don't like the
Go
conclusion to it?
Yeah.
What's
Yeah.
the-
I'm
Just out of
curious.
curiosity.
It starts with the fact that I really don't like the spider silk working. I just don't buy. I feel like it
Mm.
needs to be a lot more spider
The
silk.
MVP.
Yeah. Honestly, the arts and crafts supplies makes way more sense. So, I'm glad that that's more of the finisher there.
Mm.
But the ending to this fight, Taylor kicked his ass at the end. And like, there's just some weird resolution to this, that like, she probably could have like taken him apart at the end there, even with the knife. Like, that he whips out.
Maybe. I think it's implied. I mean, it's implied strongly that she basically collapses on herself after
Yeah.
the fight.
Yeah.
Just because she's got nothing left inside of her tank. It was all adrenaline. So
Yeah.
I think the
Mhm.
conclusion is more like Mannequin steps back, realizing, I could lose this. I'll choose to leave instead. And Taylor, being like, "Hey, you had enough, or can we be done? We'll do this more
Can
later.
we be done, please?
Can we be done, please?" It's like, we've both gotten shit on in this fight. Let's just agree to be done. We'll deal with the
Yeah.
problems later.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. And it's not that I don't like in world, of course, but as like, if you could have written it differently, I
Yeah, sure,
don't
sure.
like the ending to this. I'm not a huge fan of the like, I don't know, the tie.
Yeah.
Not just for the sake of like a resolution, but it is something about this just doesn't sit right.
Sure, sure. That's fair.
Yeah.
Yeah, it does. It does feel in part. It is a great fight that I think is definitely the kind of fight I could see Wild Bow maybe feeling like they've written themselves into a corner with. And I'm not saying that this is necessarily what happened, but I could understand Wild Bow being like, "Ooh, how am I going to finish this fight without either of them dying?
Mm.
Let's just have them beat each
Mm.
other up so badly that
Yeah, they have to walk away.
that they have to walk away." Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And maybe that's the best way to do it. I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe.
But yeah, it's an interesting. That's a great fight, though. I do love it a lot. And it's just very fun.
Yeah.
I do like her solution of gunking him up. I think is a
Yeah.
clever way of solving the problem.
And it is just more of like, oh, what was my first idea? Let's clog his joints. He vents the
Yeah.
hot air. Okay, well, I guess my next answer is to clog it up even more.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
just like, it's like, oh, well, the spider silk didn't work. More. And to the point where it's just like dropping paint buckets, basically like, oh,
Love it.
Yeah.
what's
Don't
the
they
correct
have,
answer? Keep doing it.
Don't they have containment foam in this
Oh,
universe?
man. If he got hit with containment foam in the joints, he's fucked.
That's what I'm
Like,
thinking.
That's a good point, actually. I'm curious.
Why didn't Arms Master just hit him real quick with that? It would have been so easy.
It would have been fine.
So stupid.
That's funny.
But no, he
I
needed
know.
a whole new face after that.
Yikes.
Friggin' Arms Master not letting the Eagles fight a Mordor looking motherfucker.
Yeah, that's my part of this podcast. How many times would containment foam solve this?
I'm telling you,
Yes,
how
dude.
many times would Coil's sniper solve this problem? That's what I want to know.
Oh my gosh, yes.
One
Every
one-place
time.
bullet
Very
really
gonna say-
could fix so much of this.
I mean, Taylor even says with Mannequin, he's not built for. He's not like his plating and everything isn't super strong. It's meant for utility and like it's well made, but that's
Yeah.
something she actually exploits. So like a strong armor piercing round, maybe that would work.
Yeah, maybe
Just
so.
a 50 cal to the dome.
Yeah, nobody gets up from that.
Knowing
sniper.
him, he'd have some kind of contingency brain in his ass.
Probably.
Well, that's the reality.
Yeah. Honestly,
that
God,
he's
the only
bulletproof.
person that can survive just a shot to the head is Crawler. Everybody else gets one to the
Crawler.
dome, they're out. Slaughterhouse
All right.
9, fucking line them up.
Well,
We're so
it's
distracted
funny.
again.
Nick
No,
and
we
Halo
are.
could take these motherfuckers out.
It's funny though because that's an interesting element to the story. Is a lot of the characters are are not built, with a couple of really noticeable exceptions, are not built for durability. Like, they are not bulletproof, and they do get hurt quite a lot. So it's interesting when you do have these characters that can survive a beating or two, or like have contingencies, like Mannequin. He may not be, his armor might not be bulletproof, but he is, in the sense that like his heart isn't where his heart is, and his brain isn't where his brain is, and he's essentially bulletproof for all intents and purposes.
Yeah.
So everyone's got their own gimmick.
It's like everyone is high attack and low like defense.
Exactly.
Yeah, actually. Because Purity can like laser beam half the city, but a 9 mil to the temple would end that real quick.
Yeah, exactly. Which is why, again, unironically, Coil Sniper, strongest cape.
One of the best.
Strongest cape.
One of the best among us, truly.
Not even a cape. Not even a cape.
Yep.
You should.
All right, somebody bring us back.
Yeah, bringing us back to.
I'll bring us back. I'll bring us back.
Yeah.
So do we have any other last comments before I move on to chapter 8?
No, that's a dangerous
We do, but
question.
we're not going to share them.
That's the danger. Okay, perfect. We're just going to go on. Chapter 8. Brian shows up the next morning, and Taylor is bruised and battered and needs help getting into her suit, and finds some new recruits waiting for her downstairs.
This is not something that they talk. They did this with like the glass. I think Danny put like tape on the glass windows, which is smart because then when it shatters, like it's
It's more
kind of in
contained.
peace. Yeah. Grabbing cardboard boxes and just laying down cardboard everywhere would be a really wise maneuver for walking around.
Mm.
Not something that they had in here, just something I thought of while they were crunching through the kitchen, when Taylor was grabbing her
Crunching.
Wheaties or whatever.
Crunch.
Good thought.
And it's fucking everywhere. Like, she goes to her cabinet, and how many things, like
Yes.
salt and pepper,
Spices and
all of those spices are glass. They just shredded the food if you've got cereal right next to it.
Yeah.
And so, like,
so much
if
tomato
you're eating
sauce
Captain
everywhere.
Crunch or like
Tomato sauce.
Rice Krispies, you're not going to be able to tell if there's glass in there or not.
Yeah.
Oh gosh, true.
Yeah, it's hard to visualize. Like, we were just talking about how hard it is to visualize the apocalyptic setting of Brockton Bay post Leviathan. It's hard to visualize a world or a city or a home with no glass, no, actual constructed glass. It's all just shattered everywhere. Like, I'm looking around my room right now, and it's like glass, that's glass. Oh, that's glass. Oh, I didn't even realize that was glass. Like, I mean, it's
computer
just
monitors,
everything.
glass.
Yeah, everything.
Phones, mirrors, windows.
Yeah, I mean,
Microwave
they even
oven,
talked
yeah.
about that in the I just forgot his name, the wolf guy, Nazi.
Airwolf.
Hookwolf.
Not Hookwolf. Thank you.
Airwolf.
Yes, Airwolf.
Not again.
No, Hookwolf rather. The other wolf. How somebody had their phone in their pocket when Chatterbird hit them, and their leg is just exploded, basically.
Right.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
Think about we talked about it
ugh.
before, where like they mentioned that, and it was like, yeah, imagine you've got it in your butt pocket. Yeah, your ass is destroyed. Okay. Which is a crime in its own. But then like you have it on the side of your leg, like, oh
Ass
man,
shrapnel.
that really fucking sucks. If you have it in your front pocket and it sits, right there on the artery, oh, you're fucked.
Oh, you're so fucked. You're gonna bleed out so fast.
Mm-hmm.
Also, your junk destroyed.
Do you
Just putting
keep it
that
in
out
a
there.
singular front pocket?
No, I'm just talking about pockets, specifically male jean pockets that have deep fucking pockets, because women don't know about that shit.
I don't have a pocket in the middle.
It's not in the middle,
Jesus.
bro.
Jesus, Alan. Not in the middle, my dude. But like, okay, if we're talking about glass exploding, and not just exploding lightly, but exploding violently outward.
Yeah.
Anywhere near that area of your pocket is done for. Shredded.
Not to be tangent, but now all I can picture is people pulling phones out of their crotches, and it's just you never know
Yeah, they call
what
that
they're
the
pulling
cocket.
out of there. It's kind of
No.
it's a
What was
dangerous
that?
world.
Yeah, they call that the cocket.
You never know. If there's a pocket there, what's coming out.
Yeah, that's true. That's
the
true.
phone?
That's our out of
Is it
context
not?
clip right there.
Michael, that's a different kind of pocket. I think you're thinking of.
It's a scary world.
Front
My
pocket.
brain.
A scary world.
Also, I know that we're all just talking about. I'm thinking about the opposite, which is you're going down on a partner, but you've got your
No.
glasses on.
No.
Oh, God.
No.
I think
Why?
I'm thinking of that
Okay,
part.
we're moving on. I'm moving this along. I can't. Okay. Do we have thoughts back to the episode, the chapter?
Oh.
Do we have thoughts on this specifically? Okay, I'll just say what Hannah's thinking. I talking about how earlier that like this arc feels like it's bracketed on both sides with like the daily, the normal, because obviously after Shatterbird hits a city, we have a new normal now. Like you have to. There isn't another option. And having Sierra and Charlotte help Taylor into her suit and like
Oh
zip
my
her
gosh,
up,
yes.
zip in her broken, battered, bruised body into her suit is just like, I feel the vibes of that so strongly. It feels so good. And then for
Very
her to
sweet.
come downstairs and to find out that we have people who heard and saw and are impressed by what she did and how she handled Mannequin and are like, yeah, we thought you were full of shit before, but now that we know that you're actually here to fight for us, we'll help you. And it feels
Yeah.
good. It feels so good to end this arc on that like up tilt high note.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Big comparison in my mind to the scene in The Two Towers where Theoden's suiting up for the first time. Who am I? Gambling to his assistant. You are our king, sire, as he's suiting him up. It's just this great moment.
So
That's what
good.
I'm imagining here.
Yes. I wasn't before, but now I'll never forget.
Now
it.
I am. Yeah.
Yeah.
I love it.
No, and then she comes downstairs and interacts with, tries to get some breakfast, but is interrupted because she's got some visitors. Turns out she made a name for herself to the surrounding neighborhoods. She's got a few new recruits on her doorstep.
Yeah, not too bad.
Kinda
Not
fun.
too shabby.
Not too
The
shabby.
new normal begins.
Mm.
Pretty cool.
Ready for it. So ready for it. Any thoughts, or should I just go straight into the next interlude?
Yeah, let me see. Love Sierra Taylor talking. Love that. Also,
Check.
I love that she is just, while a little bit scared, she is sizing up Brian. He may be hot, but he's scary. And she's like, you'll have to talk to my boss, like, arms folded. And he's like, who's this? Your employee? It's like, henchwoman, thank you very much. And keeps just referring to her, like just gesturing us, like, yes, your employee. It's like, Sierra has a name and she's standing right here.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
Mhm.
remember that. Remember the name.
Yeah. Come on. Love it.
Brian's just jealous.
Recruits. Let's go.
Yeah, Brian is jealous.
Brian is jealous.
Brian ain't doing
100%.
shit. Brian ain't got no
Taylor is-
henchmen.
Taylor
Brian's
is
got a-
cooking.
Taylor's cooking, and Brian's got a bratty younger sister that he can't even keep track of.
That's true. Where even is she?
Yeah, where even is he?
She's probably right next to him right now.
Yeah, probably.
She don't even know.
Actually,
Yeah.
she probably is. That's what's funny. She's probably the whole time.
And so more recruits. I love, once again, the somewhat mundane side. We've got to make some hiring. We've got to make some firing. Honestly, let's get Sierra in charge of HR. Let's see, get some people on payroll. Look at what the benefits are. Do they get a 401k? What's their dental like?
These are important questions, I would say.
These are very important questions. So
I
we're
do
all
like
quitting
the
our jobs
idea-
and becoming hench
Yeah.
people, right? That's the plan.
I do like the idea of like a post-credit scene. We're gonna shift to Dissecting Worm for a second. The post-credit scene of this episode is just cutting to Taylor like buried deep in paperwork, just like the grueling
It's all taxi.
Yeah.
She's got
she's got their tax forms. She's got the healthcare all. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's that, but she's at the desk. But then, like, as it zooms out, it's papers, the same piles all over the floors, except her bugs are like walking over, essentially like reading it for her.
Yeah.
Like she's doing everybody's taxes all at once.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
There are some things that I am uniquely capable of, and this is one of them.
Oh my god.
I could simultaneously do all of our workers' comp at the same time.
That's funny. Oh gosh, workers' comp would be crazy.
Jesus.
Oh man.
So you want to you need workers' comp because you got stabbed by a faceless man named Mannequin?
Yeah, exactly.
We're gonna have to send an investigator out there.
Yep.
Yeah,
That's
the
not co- that's not
superhero
covered.
insurance business, the Cape insurance business is a racket.
Not
I'll tell you what.
He
Yeah.
appeared in my room, blew a hole in my ceiling, and disappeared in a cloud of bubbles. Tell me I'm wrong. Tell me I'm lying.
Cloud of bubbles.
Ah,
The bubbles, though.
I
That's
love
good.
it. I love it.
All right, let's jump into these interludes if we've got
Yeah,
nothing
let's
else
do it. Try and
important
wrap
to say.
this shit up. Yeah, okay, so we have 2 interludes for this arc. The first is, I'm just gonna give us both of them and then we can talk about them.
Mhm.
The first one is Jack's interlude, which we actually missed in the previous in arc 11 when we were doing all of the Slaughterhouse Nines and everybody's different perspectives. This is now Jack's. And the Slaughterhouse Nine are absolutely fucking up the merchants, which we love to see it. And then the other interlude, which is Jamie. And we learn a little bit about Assault and Battery and how Battery got her powers. And we get a huge info dump and a ton of information about Cauldron, which is super cool.
Yeah. We had an interlude for Jack, but this is just
Not from his.
Yeah, but like
POV.
this is POV
Yeah.
Jack.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which
Yeah, fun little chapter. I like Jack's internal monologue.
Me too. I
Very
like how
psychotic.
he sees the group and the group dynamics, and like he is the leader of the Slaughterhouse Nine, and it is his job to manage the members. And I like how he talks about that is pretty cool.
He feels
Yeah.
very aware of his own like psychosis, if you will. He's acutely aware of everybody else's, like the way the chapter ends, where he's like itemizing all of their needs and what they need and how to keep them in line. And at the very end, it kind of hints at, and that's what I need. And he's like very, very self-aware as a character, which just is like, when I think of my favorite evil characters in media, it's, your Dexters and your, I'm trying to think of all these names now, but like all these characters that are just so well written to be fully in control of how evil they are. So you can't really excuse the behavior, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Which I think is
Mhm.
important, but also just makes them way cooler.
Also love, he's like, all right, guys, team meeting. Like, even the worst of us have to have these group meetings so that we can get, murders done.
Oh man, I feel like honestly that meeting could have been an email.
All right,
love
guys, let's come up with the rules for this time. And I'm like sitting there, like nodding off, like, oh my God, I could never be in the Slaughterhouse Nine because if his first challenge was like, all right, my challenge will be sit through one of these group meetings, I'm done for. Like, kill me. I'm falling asleep.
Mhm.
Yeah. Alan, do you understand? I fucking didn't get a word of that, dude. I'm so sorry, Jack.
I mean, in your defense,
Oh, gosh.
Bonesaw gets so bored that she creates the most horrific
Oh my
plague
God.
imaginable for
Oh
like
my
30
God.
seconds.
And he's
then
like-
lets
he's
it
like,
off.
no pandemics. She's like,
Yeah.
it only has 5 iterations.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh my
Ugh.
God, that's so gross. And I love that they have those like little group dynamic rules that they have to have in place, that Jack understands that there has to be
Mhm.
what's the word I'm looking for? But you have to have like
I mean, they have to have some order. They're not animals.
Thank you. They're not.
Yeah.
Yes,
What?
they're not Philistines. What's the word I'm looking for? The like parameters, guidelines.
You have to have
rules.
boundaries.
Boundaries.
Yeah,
Thank you. Boundaries is the word I was looking for. But like you have to have boundaries in order to make this work. And like, yes, they bring an immense amount of chaos, but it is in a weird way ordered chaos and has rules to it. Like even with Bonesaw's comment about it has to be fair. Like my test has to be fair. Like there are rules set even in amongst this group of absolute homicidal maniacs.
What is the plague that she creates?
So she creates this thing that basically your arm starts to swell and then it explodes and then whatever bits explode off and they touch anything else that also begins to like swell up and explode. So like one guy will swell up and explode and that explosion will like all the bits will get on somebody else and they will start, and then as it spreads and spreads and spreads, but it only has 5 cycles. So it'll die out.
It's a bloodborne pathogen. And anywhere the blood touches, though, if it comes into contact with, another human, then that human's infected with it and they explode.
Yeah. Well, it's not even like the whole person either. It's specific limbs. So like it'll be just a leg or just an arm, which is just
wow. And it was that moment. Spreads to 5 people at a time.
Well, she did that specifically because she knew that Jack would get mad. So she's like, it's not an actual pandemic. It's only got 5 iterations.
Yeah, it can only chain to 5 cycles. So one person blows up, it spreads, and then it spreads and it spreads and then it's done after that.
Yeah.
But it's also like that's when you realize why like the PRT gives her an S-class threat. Because she could just if she loses any bit of control,
everything.
Yeah, she can end the world with on a whim.
Yeah. Also, a small thing, but her stupid spider exoskeleton suit that forms, like where they chink together, and then she has like the needle
Transformer
hands
style.
Oh my gosh, I forgot about
Transformers.
That. That's so
holy
cool.
fucking shit.
Oh my gosh! Once again, terrifying, but so cool.
Oh, that's getting sound clipped.
Yeah, all of my things are geez, Bonesaw, spider exoskeleton, cool, but still, fuck Bonesaw. The exploding blood epidemic, fuck that. Like, just everything is just, Bonesaw. God damn it.
Yeah.
And then Mannequin shows up with no head and covered in glue.
Mannequin shows up with egg on his face.
Yeah, just it's just Jack, and I love Jack's response though. It's just like, wow, who messed you up, man? Like, what happened?
Yeah, how's it going, Alan? Let's have our Alan moment.
Yeah.
Like, why are these motherfuckers always called Alan?
I mean,
like,
Alan is clearly just one of those names.
For real,
like
it is.
Chad.
Like, this is why I try to avoid being Alan as much as possible.
No, before
and
you
unfortunately started doing this on here. And this is, because Alan, for the most part, at its worst, is, a late 40s IT guy, and at its worst is a fucking divorce lawyer and a serial killer in a biome body. Goddamn Allens. At least,
we love you, Alan.
At least in representation, we had Alan from Michael Cera in the Barbie movie.
That was good. That was a good.
He wears all of Ken's clothes.
Yeah,
of course.
In our one good Alan.
Alan, before you trash all the Allens,
true.
We have a reoccurring listener named Alan who's been commenting on every single post.
We do.
Oh my gosh.
He's very pro Team Alan, and his very first post was something like, I like how everyone
agrees with Alan all the time.
Agrees with Alan. Go Team Alan. We love Allens.
You know what? It just goes to show there's some good Alan in the world, and that's all. That makes all the difference right there.
Exactly. Shout out to you, my friend.
Thank you, Alan. We appreciate you. Listener from the beginning.
All right. Anyways.
I've always said that, Allens are just a good group of guys, good souls.
Always said that.
There's one thing I'll stand on. It's that,
Oh my God. We gotta keep this moving.
we might make a special Allen tier Patreon where you send in, you got to confirm that you're an Allen.
Yep.
And then you can be access to the Allen tier of content.
There you go.
it.
Oh
And then
God.
we'll have the Allen meetup, all Allens.
I love that.
Only
It's
Allens.
just like 5 Allens in a room together.
Yep.
Mannequin shows up. I love it.
Yep.
Oh man.
Okay.
I
shall we-
do want to get to the last interlude because it's it's such a good
It's
interlude.
So good. It's so good. With Jamie or
Yes.
Her
Salt
it's
and
not
battery.
actually Jamie, but that's
Right. We learned that.
well, as she
So it's Jamie
becomes
to us.
called.
Yeah.
I do love.
I think she only gets called that at the Cauldron. Otherwise,
Oh, they don't really say her
just say
name.
Puppy
after
and
that.
Battery.
They call her Puppy and Battery, which we will get to Puppy.
We don't like Pet, but Puppy.
Puppy's okay. I wrote Puppy. Okay, but I love it though.
Yeah, it's just every time he was like, "Are you like a cute 3-legged puppy?"
Oh
and
my God.
I
So
immediately
funny.
thought of Lil Brudder from Homestar
Lil
Runner.
Brudder!
He's like a one-legged puppy. When I grow up, I want to be a quarterback. The heart of a champion. He's so funny.
Wow. Man, we
Oh,
reference a
gosh.
lot of stuff in this podcast.
Jeez,
Yeah,
this has
yeah.
been kind of unhinged, hasn't it?
It's good.
This one,
great.
yeah.
Hope people
Who knew
can
that
keep up.
episode 12 would be the one?
Would be the one that
The
broke.
breaking
The one we
point.
all finally lose it.
I think it just makes us better.
Slaughterhouse 9
Yes.
did this to us.
That's right.
I love the slow build though. The
Yes.
slow introduction, having really no idea what's going on until the
Mhm.
welcome to Cauldron. It's like,
Oh.
ooh,
Ugh.
such
So
a good
good.
line. It's so great. Because I mean, we've spent 12 full arcs now having no idea what Cauldron is.
Really.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And we still don't,
No.
which is great. It's like, okay, so they deal in superpowers for insane amounts of money, which tracks.
Mhm.
And then that's
Yeah,
about
insane
it.
amounts of money, like $20-something thousand.
What?
No, what?
No.
She
What?
got the cheap.
No.
She got the cheap thing for like almost $1 million.
Yeah.
She had
Was
to-
$1 million?
Yeah,
Yeah.
because she
Was
sells her
I just-
apartment to them for
That's right, you're
$750,000
right.
of $1 million. And then she also has to do extra stuff on top of that. Plus, she
Yeah.
owes them 3 favors. And then when she's looking at the monitor of all of the different ones,
You're right.
it goes
Yeah.
it goes all the way up to like the hundreds of millions is for
Yeah.
like the most premier ones.
It
Yeah,
must be
is-
stuck
it
in
is
my
not
head from like the first time I read this, where I was just like, her college tuition, and at the time I was like, $26,000 of college tuition. Like
What? What college did you go to, my man?
the same college you went to.
Shut up. It costs more than that. I don't want people to think we went to some cheap
What do you
ass
mean?
college.
No, at the time it was $23,000.
It was not. I have more.
It jumped
school
up to
debt than that.
$26,000.
People are gonna dox our
Anyways.
locations.
Not for the
Right,
whole
point-
thing.
point
but
being-
geez.
Point
Anyways.
being. But yeah, no, I thought it was funny. I made a note here that Jamie thinks it's creepy that Mother or the doctor was able to monitor her browsing history. And I just, as someone who works in marketing, it kills me because y'all, we know everything. People who work in marketing, people who monitor ads, we know everything. And she's like, oh, that's kind of creepy. I'm like, bitch, you have no idea how much your browser history, how much everything you look at is tracked like crazy. And then we target ads to find you. And so she's like, well, of course Cauldron has eyes on literally anyone who's Googled,
Yeah.
how do I get a power? Like they know
Yeah.
who you are. They glanced into your bank statements and they went, she might be able to afford it. Let's reach out to
Mhm.
her. Her dad's a police officer. Yeah. Oh yeah. She'd be an
Yeah.
excellent
and
client.
clear history. Okay, there we go.
Oh, there's
That's
no
not how it
clearing
works.
it now.
Turn off all your location services while you're at
Yeah.
it too.
Exactly.
Yeah, I thought that was so interesting where she's like, I saw a bunch of websites. They looked fake though, so I didn't really follow up. And
Yeah.
the lady's just like, oh yeah, we own most of those.
We own those.
Yeah.
I love it. It's just a way
Smart.
to weed people out, though, which is so
yeah,
smart.
yeah, absolutely.
Oh, I
Love
love. I mean, it's so like I don't know what the word is. I'm thinking of. I can't think of words tonight, but detailed is not. Anyway, all I'm saying is the scene where like they're sitting down and she's like cycling through her options.
Yeah.
Well, you can do this and you get more of these things, but you're going to be a little bit riskier. Something bad might happen.
Yeah.
And like
Mhm.
just playing around with the odds of what she could get was
Yeah.
so interesting. What a
Yeah.
cool chapter.
Yeah, it's really interesting.
Gonna dig into that.
Yeah. Jamie alludes to it, but they never really say it. But she says for a moment, well, like, how do you have all of this information? Like, how do you have all of these tests? If you have 60, results per thing, like, how do you know all of this? And Mother doesn't give her an answer, or the doctor, I don't know what we're calling her. Mother doesn't give her an answer. She just kind of like glides past it. And Jamie makes a note that like she's on purpose being evasive.
Mhm.
And it's
Mhm.
like the question of like, Cauldron hasn't like just figured out powers like a year ago. They've had this
Yeah.
going for a long time. And
Yeah.
like,
Mhm.
that's kind of terrifying because powers haven't even been around for that long. And yet they have this down to an intricate science.
It kind of begs the question and brings into question every hero and villain who has powers.
Yep.
Because you kind of look at it and think, well, if those tiers exist that are way so high, who could have afforded to buy those? Because they're not making up these
Mhm.
numbers, right? Just to scare her and be
Right.
like, they clearly from the doctor's demeanor, they've sold that kind of that kind of stuff before to people.
Oh yeah.
So again, it's just begging that question: who has that money? What kind
Right.
of person has that kind of money?
Well, and it's cool too because we finally get confirmation. I think it's kind of been hinted at this point that people are getting their powers from ways that are not triggering. But now
Mhm.
you have two very clear camps of ways people get powers. You've got a natural trigger and and buying them, which is really interesting. Like, I wonder what the numbers are for those two. It's like, do more people trigger, or do we just think that's the case because we only know people who have
Right. Yeah,
in the
that's interesting.
story?
How many people
know?
have made up trigger events just to look less suspicious?
Oh.
Or who Cauldron has made up events for?
Exactly.
Mm.
Fabricated
Mm.
events for
Fabricated entire stories, yeah.
exactly. So that they could because obviously like Battery, she joins in with the wards and then becomes part of the protectorate. Like, and they have no clue. So clearly there is a story that was fabricated for her, or some kind of something that was fabricated for her
Mhm.
to be able to join the wards, because the wards have documentation on all of that stuff anyway. So like she clearly has some sort of backstory that's been fabricated in order for her to function in the superhero
Interesting.
circles. Like,
Mhm.
it
Guess
just makes
why?
me really excited. I legitimately have no recollection whatsoever of if we find out who or what or might be Cauldron, who isn't. But like my brain is reeling right now. I just
Yeah.
have so many thoughts.
Great.
And I
Great
just
TV
gotta
show
say-
ideas, am I right?
Yeah.
Well, and speaking, it's funny you say that, Michael, because I so much prefer this approach to powers in a bottle to what they're doing in The Boys right now. So slight
Mm.
spoilers for The Boys, very slight spoilers. I think it's spoiled in season 1. But The Boys goes the route of, all the powers, there's no natural powers. Everybody, you got a shot. It's just that if you don't remember it, it's because your parents did it to you when you were a baby and they paid amounts of money for it, which is fine. And they do a fun job. I love The Boys. It's a great show. They do a fun job with it in their own way, but it sort of just stops there. It's like, Vought sold powers and that's that. They've always kind of been evil from the beginning. But when you put the agency into the person to step forward and make that decision for themselves,
Yeah.
I feel like is way more interesting as a concept to because then, I mean, sure, Cauldron could be evil, I guess. We don't really know too much about it yet. But at the end of the day, like, it falls on the responsibility of the person who paid $1 million to
Right.
fly, you know,
Mhm.
which is a lot more fun to play around with than just saying, like, oh, they've just been injecting infants with powers for years,
Yeah,
you know.
interesting for sure.
This is my favorite chapter in Worm.
It's a good one.
And the whole thing,
I'm like because it's a complete story.
it's
Mhm.
so cute.
It is a
like,
good one.
It's so cute.
I'm a sucker for a good enemies to lovers trope.
Oh,
Like it's
the book
it's-
talk girlie's gonna love this.
Oh yeah, it's very saccharine, but you know, I like it.
Can
Yeah,
they
I need a whole movie or a whole book just on assault and battery because damn, if they aren't just the cutest.
I mean, he had to be, like, let's be real. He had to be, he's got to be a good looking guy, though, right? Because he's an asshole.
Yes.
I mean, yeah.
Not
We
the-
just got to just lay that out there, right?
Oh,
He's
for
the
sure.
Rizzler.
Yeah, he was Madcap. That was his name before. Was Madcap? So that
I
would
know.
Right. Yeah.
fit. No, I think too. It's just that I'm trying to think of a character to compare it to, but it's just that it's that charming cockiness, kind of like actually a good
Yeah.
example might be like Wesley from The Princess Bride,
Yeah.
where it's like.
Mm.
I mean, he is very good looking, so we're not going to say no
Yeah.
to that. But it's this charming cockiness where it's like he knows
Yeah.
that he's smart, he knows that he's clever, he knows that he's a good fighter, like all those things.
He's very coy.
Yeah, and it's just that kind of like yeah, I'm pretty cool. What do you say, Pet? Should we hang out? It's just
Hey,
this, like,
puppy.
yeah, hey there. How's it going?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I love
And you kind
it.
of hate it, but you kind of love it too.
You kind of love it. Yeah, it's
I love it.
it's obnoxious a little bit at first, but it gets endearing so quickly that
Mhm.
like,
Mhm.
oh yeah.
Just he's like, I've got the perfect name already picked out for when I be a hero.
He's so
And she's like,
good.
don't you fucking say it. He's like, no, you're gonna love it. She's like, don't you? Why are you even considering it? Why are we even considering this? Throw his ass in the birdcage. And then the guy's like, let him cook. And he's like, assault? Huh? And the guy's like, interesting. She's like, no,
No.
you're just setting us up for our names will be a crime.
No.
I do love how extremely unhelpful Eidolon is in that conversation.
He's
Oh.
so bad.
Wait, is it Legend?
bad.
I thought it was
No
Legend.
Legend.
I thought
Is
it
it
was-
Legend?
Yeah, it's Legend.
It's
Is it Legend? Whoever it is.
But yeah, no, he's so unhelpful.
he's so unhelpful. And it's
Interesting.
wonderful in the
Yes, we
funniest
should
way.
do that for
It
reasons.
really is. I just love that
Ugh.
he's like, oh yeah, yeah. Oh no, it could be helpful. She's like, no, don't let this happen.
And then she's like, yeah, we'll take him to community service. We'll have to interact with.
He'll have to read.
There's
the
only
children.
one thing worse than a rapist. A
child.
child.
Oh my god.
And then he's hamming it up. He's killing it out there. And she's just like over the corner, just pissed.
Yeah, just
Of course he's good
So
with
good.
kids.
Just
Of course
yeah.
he is.
Dang it.
They're all little criminals. Why wouldn't he get along with them?
What's the meme? Oh no, he's hot. It's like the
Love
whole
it.
time.
And he can cook.
Oh.
Oh
basically,
my gosh.
basically.
Surely he
I
doesn't
have a
look good with
great-
glasses on. Wait a minute.
Oh my gosh. You mean his
Even
civilian
hotter now.
disguise?
Yeah.
We could transfer off of this into
To another
Art.
tangent.
into another section because
Oh no.
I'll say right now, my favorite power growing up, when people would ask me like, "Oh, what ability do you want?" And as a kid, my go-to power was the ability to transfer energy and use it.
Of
And my
course it was.
superhero,
Must have been a
I
weird
used to
kid.
play this game called
He was a very
Champions.
weird kid.
For those of you who know, Champions was a role playing game for superpowers, and I always played this character called Conduit. And Conduit's ability was like, yeah, he could just take the force of a bullet and transfer it into the ground under his feet. So you can shoot him, you can do whatever. He just transfers energy and displaces it, on whatever he's touching. And that's basically what Madcap does, except he also can use it on himself. So, like, man, it's such a cool ability.
It
I
is.
I
It is
actually
cool.
think he got nerfed in because he's the one that gets pepper sprayed, right? Or was that another speedster?
Yes. No.
At the party scene
the
where
party?
they crash the party.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes.
Party?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think you're right.
I think so.
I
I'm pretty
feel,
sure.
I feel like he really got nerfed in that fight because just reading what he's doing, like taking out armored cars and like how his abilities work with energy transfer. Man, him and Battery are a perfect pairing with abilities, and they really should have cleaned house there.
Well, it's funny because after this interlude, now it almost reads like that fight. Maybe he just let them win. He was having fun watching them.
Oh
Yeah.
no, not
Mess
the
everything up.
villains kicking Arms Master's ass.
Yeah,
Except
was
then he
probably
turns
just
and gets pepper
corner
sprayed.
laughing.
So I'm just like,
Yeah.
That's funny. Which I can fact check it real quick. Who are we talking about?
We're talking to the Gala. I
that's-
believe it's Arc 4.
Arc 6.
Arc
No,
6?
no. What's the cape's name?
Oh, it's
Assault.
Assault.
He's the
I wasn't
speedy
sure.
boy.
Yeah. But he's checking. That's my favorite power growing up, and my favorite power and cape this time around.
Fair enough. That's a good pick.
Yeah.
Good pick.
Are we? I guess we're transitioning into capes.
Might
That
as well.
makes
It's as good a time as any.
Yes.
No transition's been smooth tonight, so let's just roll with it. We got some good options for powers.
There are so many good ones. I gotta think about it now.
Yeah, it's a tough one. I kind of gave Mannequin some praise earlier. I might stick with that for this arc, just because it's such a unique power.
Assault was not pepper sprayed. He was disabled with containment foam.
Yeah.
Okay, that's good. Because I was about to
okay.
say, because
That
he
makes more
should be
sense.
able to just destroy
Yep.
these teams.
Yeah. I'm glad we checked because, we'd have some comments if not.
Take him out early.
Yeah, because I knew
Containment
there was
foam.
2 speedsters, and the other one hits at I think the other one phases out, so he's like kind of weaker in the material plane. I don't remember what his name is though.
They'll tell us in the comments. It's fine.
Yeah, they will.
I'm sure they will.
Let us know.
They always do.
Favorite powers?
Okay, so I actually don't care about Battery's power all that much, but I find her very interesting as a person. So I'm gonna say Battery for this, but I just find her interesting, like her motivation for why she wanted to go to Cauldron and get a power and stuff. And I think that her powers end up working out really well for her, and of course, her and Assault it's cute. It's just very cute. So yeah, I'll say Battery for this round.
I really thought that seeing Jack's power was a bit interesting in this one. Just seeing just the ability to extend blades. It's kind of a vague power when you describe it that way, but you get what it means. But seeing it in action really does help reinforce just how dangerous he is. Like, yes,
Yeah.
bullet to the head kills him, absolutely. However, man, the scene with the merchants just getting wrecked by the Slaughterhouse 9. I mean, Skidmark's death scene is kind of brutal.
Oh my gosh, that's right.
Oh, yeah.
I
And we
forgot
didn't even
about
really
that.
talk about that.
We really
Ooh.
did.
It was very brutal. I mean, I don't feel much pity for him. He's a pretty terrible person.
Yeah.
But, even so,
Still.
it's just like, oh, he dead.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
kind
Right.
of that.
Right,
right.
right.
Yeah. So, Yeah, very, very cool. Very cool, horrifying power. And I think an honorable mention just to Mannequin because I think he's a funny guy.
What a goofy dude.
What a goof. What a goof.
What a goober.
goof.
Exactly.
Oh, you. Well, I think
Velocity. Velocity was the
Velocity.
Oh, Velocity.
Okay.
Like it's
Different
not
character, yeah.
Speedster, but
No.
you know, the whole moment where he's freaking out and because he got
Yeah,
pepper
yeah.
sprayed and he's
Yeah.
You're right.
Different speeds.
You're right.
Jacob, did you say your
Yeah.
favorite power?
Yeah, did you?
I gave a shout out to Mannequin. Yeah, we'll
Okay,
say
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
we'll say Mannequin.
Alan.
Alan. Yeah.
Shout out to Alan.
for being technical.
Sticks and
Yeah.
carrots.
yeah. My favorite character was Alan from the Comets.
Yeah, for sure.
My favorite hero.
There you go.
Mhm.
On that note, reach out
Are
to
we-
us. Brockton
are we done?
BC. All platforms.
Yes.
I think we're good, Jacob. Take us out.
No, you're doing
Like, we gotta finish this. We gotta end this.
We can do
You're
it.
doing great. You're doing great. No, I'll pick up where you left off. Reach out to us, please. Clearly, we love to shout out our fans, and let us know where we went wrong, what we forgot. Who was your favorite power? There's a lot of them here, and give us those predictions. What do you think's coming up? We got Arc 13 next, and as always, stick around for Dissecting Worm. With myself and Alan and
Me too.
special guest. I was going to say special guest Hannah joins us as well for this episode. So going to be a lot of fun. And always, until next time, Michael, you want to play us out?
Thank you so much for listening. Read along with us at parahumans.wordpress.com. We'd love to hear your thoughts. What did you love? What did you hate? Anything you think we missed, etc., as long as it's kind. If you'd like to get in touch, you can find us on Twitter, Threads, Instagram, TikTok, and Reddit at Brocktonbaybc, or click the link in the description. We have a very exciting announcement. We now have a voicemail, 980-999-0438. You can call us, and your voicemail might be featured on one of our episodes.
Do you still have bitter feelings about your ex and no way to get it out? Well, perhaps you could consider hiding it inside a worm-related rant. Tell us all about how Legend broke your heart, or just how Skitter won't call you back. We'll listen and air your grievances at 980-999-0438 on the podcast. That's right. Leave us a voicemail about your sad life at 980-999-0438.
What triggered you?